Gisu was a weak young man who was bullied so much that he had to transfer schools, but his luck was terrible. On his very first day, he accidentally stained the school bully's shirt. He thought there was no way he could escape a brutal beating, but surprisingly the guy was actually super friendly and told Gisu it was no big deal. After that, Gisu learned that this school actually had no bullying at all. It sounded crazy, right? At Lukman's school, everyone had to follow a rule that strictly prohibited school violence. All conflicts and grudges had to be settled through one-on-one matches in the arena. The one who established this new order was the student council president Jiang, who was also the strongest monster in the school. Now the bully Kang In-ha also appeared at the secret arena to get revenge for the stained shirt. Kang In-ha publicly challenged Gisu. Having no other choice, he had to accept the challenge. However, because he was so terrified during the fight, he accidentally unlocked a new skill. He just felt his stomach churning, then he puked all over his opponent. The arena went silent, and the audience was speechless at the disgustingly smelly knockout delivered by Gisu. From then on, not only did he offend Kang In-ha, but he also became the laughingstock of Lukman's school. Gisu was so humiliated that he had to hide in the restroom to avoid everyone's prying eyes. He thought transferring schools would be a fresh start, but who would have thought it would end in total disaster? He figured that if he just didn't go to the arena, maybe he wouldn't have to fight anymore. Thinking this, Gisu rushed to find Jiang to ask to withdraw from the arena. As soon as he said that, the air around them suddenly grew heavy. Jiang crossed his arms, his smile fading. Gisu just said that he didn't want to hurt anyone, and he didn't find anything fun in that. However, the guy had no idea that his decision was a move that would lead him straight to disaster. Jiang looked at him with an icy cold gaze. Then, in his capacity as the student council president, he officially issued a statement. From this moment on, the protective shield of the arena for first-year student Lee Gisu has been revoked. Simply put, because he is no longer a member of Lukman, he will not enjoy Lukman's privileges anymore. Now, Gisu has officially become the only student in the school who can be bullied at will. A group of male students from another class entered, and the leader was the very guy that Gisu had puked on the day before. A hand grabbed Gisu's hair and slammed his head down onto the cold wooden desk inside the classroom. Everyone ignored the scene. It seemed that to them, Gisu getting jumped was just a matter of course. Only now did he understand that the arena wasn't just a playground. It was an underground law along with a cruel ranking system. And he, the one who refused to participate, had turned himself into the only unprotected prey, an open target for all the predators in the school. Hell had opened its gates once again to welcome him. After days of being beaten, Gisu's body was shattered and his soul was rotting. He decided to quit school. He made up a lame excuse about studying for exams. He didn't dare breathe a word of the truth. I tried my best. I'm sorry to my parents for giving birth to such a useless son. That thought was like a blade cutting into his heart. On his way home on his last afternoon at school, he told himself that student life was truly a nightmare. But it was over. From tomorrow on, I will live a normal life. But just as he stepped out of the school gate, a familiar figure blocked his path. Jiang stood there with his arms crossed, eyes sharp as knives. "Why didn't you fight?" he asked, his voice cold. "Tell me what the hell is wrong with you?" Gisu started lowering his head. "I'm sorry, someone like you, a battle maniac, will never understand. I have trauma. I was tortured at my old school. Now I can't take it anymore. I just want to give up." Before he could finish, Jiang stepped forward, his hand gripping Gisu's shoulder. He stared at him, his contempt clear. "You're even more pathetic than I thought," Jiang roared suddenly, full of intensity. "Who said you have to fight like a professional martial artist? Skill, throw all that garbage away. If you don't have teeth, use your tongue. If you don't have strength, use desperation. That is the essence of a battle." Gisu panicked, stuttering, "President, what are you saying?" But then Jiang grabbed his collar, gritting his teeth. "You don't even want to protect yourself. Fear and humiliation made Gisu's tears well up. Why did he say those things? What did I do wrong? He thought the world out there was a fairy tale garden, right? Jiang yelled in his face. Quitting school and running away. No, you will forever be a loser, gnawing on regret for the rest of your life. Those words were like poisonous needles, piercing deep into Gisu's mind. He stumbled away, muttering, "What do you know? You've never been weak." But his terrible day wasn't over yet. Ahead, a familiar crowd was waiting. Kang In-ha's gang. "Hey, Gisu Kang," In-ha sneered. "Heard you're quitting school tomorrow. How can you leave without saying goodbye to us? If you leave, who will be my punching bag?" He laughed creepily. "You think quitting is the end, you dog." They dragged him into a dirty alley. The punches and kicks continued. Gisu just curled up, using his arms to cover himself. Hopelessly. "I'm going to die. Please stop." "You should feel lucky," Kang In-ha said between gasps. "If my brother was still the school bully, you'd be dead for sure." He pulled out his phone. "That's right. This is the address you sent before, right?" One of the guys replied, "For sure. You know our information network." Kang In-ha glanced at the screen and read aloud with a sinister smile. "Wow, our Gisu lives quite nicely. Apartment 1105, Building 604, City View Apartment Complex." Each and every word hit Gisu's head like a hammer. That was his home address. "Next time we'll pay a visit," Kang In-ha said, his voice sickeningly sweet and malicious. "Since you aren't joining the arena, we'll see each other much more often." "No," Gisu screamed, trying to struggle. "What are you going to do? Stay away from my family." His resistance only amused them further. Kang In-ha held up his phone to record the scene of Gisu being pinned to the ground, pathetic and desperate. Why is it me? What did I do wrong? I thought this hell was about to end. I thought I had escaped. How can I escape this?" Amidst the physical pain and utter desperation, Jiang's voice suddenly echoed in his head, crystal clear. "If you don't have teeth, use your tongue. How to get out of this?" Amidst the physical pain and utter desperation, Jiang's voice suddenly echoed clearly in his head. "If you have no teeth, use your tongue. If you have no strength, you have to use your recklessness even against yourself." The last string in Gisu's mind snapped. Fear vanished, replaced by something primal and dark. A growl erupted from deep within his chest, not the cry of a victim, but the roar of a cornered beast. His eyes were bloodshot, his teeth clenched, and his whole body went rigid, bottling up a fury about to explode. Gisu's resistance was like pouring oil on fire. His desperate screams became a thrilling melody for Kang In-ha. He laughed savagely, his tone full of sadistic pleasure. Listening to this loser moan is actually pretty entertaining. Hold him tighter. This game is getting more interesting by the second. Get him. The lackeys squeezed harder. The external pressure was the fuse that ignited the demon sleeping inside Gisu. In a moment of distraction from the group, a surge of power unexpectedly burst from his small frame, sending the phone in Kang In-ha's hand flying into the air. Crack. The chilling sound of the screen shattering on the floor drew everyone's attention to the doomed phone. This was the chance. The senior's words echoed in Gisu's head like a prophecy. "If you don't have teeth, then use your tongue." Without a second's hesitation, Gisu opened his mouth and put all his strength into sinking his teeth deep into the hand covering his mouth. "Ah, you crazy son of a bitch! Let go!" Kang In-ha let out a miserable shriek. The agonizing pain made his face pale. The louder he yelled, the harder Gisu bit down. "If you don't, I have strength, then you must have guts." But Kang In-ha wasn't someone easily bullied. He swung his other arm, landing a thunderous slap on Gisu's cheek. Gisu staggered and fell flat on the ground, trembling as he pushed himself up. Gisu wiped a smear of blood from his lip, his eyes blazing as he stared straight at his enemy. "How's that? Does it hurt, Kang In-ha?" For the first time, he had never seen a Gisu like this, a Gisu whose eyes held no fear, only defiance. "If I have to die today," Gisu said slowly, standing tall, his voice cold as ice, "then I'm taking you down with me, you bastard." Kang In-ha frowned, then let out a sneer. Look at that. Even a cornered rat knows how to bite back. You ready?" At his signal, his two henchmen lunged toward Gisu, but the moment they closed in, Gisu swung his arm, throwing a handful of sand. He'd prepared right into their faces. Everything happened too fast, too unexpectedly. "I don't need to look cool when I'm fighting. I just need to do whatever I can." Kang In-ha was stunned. He couldn't believe Gisu would use such a low-down trick. "Get him!" he roared, but Gisu had no intention of staying. He turned and bolted, running for his life. "Are you insane? You're not going to stand there and solo all of us," he thought to himself. Back at the 6th Gate Arena, the atmosphere was still electric with cheers and intense clashes on the stage. Suddenly, the doors burst open. Chairman Jiang, who was watching the match, turned around in surprise. Gisu, looking battered and completely out of breath, rushed in and yelled toward Jiang, "I want to enter the arena." The whole room went dead silent for a moment. Every astonished gaze turned toward the new student. Gisu gritted his teeth and repeated, again, every word clear and iron-willed, "I will join the arena." Immediately after, Kang In-ha's gang came panting after him, seeing the scene unfold. Jiang smirked a smile full of hidden meaning. He looked at Gisu and nodded. "You're even more interesting than I thought." The stage lights once again illuminated the two familiar faces, Gisu and Kang In-ha. "I wonder if you'll vomit on the arena floor like last time." Under the stands, a guy with a winding dragon tattoo on his arm crossed his arms and curled his lip. "Pathetic loser. I should have been the one to deal with that nerd, not In-ha. It's all because of this damn arena." He was Park Yong-ho, the number 2 in Kang In-ha's gang. The friend next to him nudged his shoulder, warning, "Watch your mouth. It's not just our side here." Both glanced toward Jiang, who was standing with his arms crossed, watching from below. "Park Yong-ho," I muttered. "I know, you always have to be on guard." On the ring, the fight had started. POW, a straight punch to the face. A dangerous knee to the gut. Bam. Another punch. Gisu spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Kang In-ha narrowed his eyes and growled, "You think you can do something just by coming up here?" Without finishing the sentence, a punch with even more force was thrown. A weakened Gisu was knocked into the arena fence. He wobbled as he tried to stand up, but Kang In-ha lunged like a beast, not giving him a second to breathe. A hook kick landed right on his chin, making blood pour from his mouth again. Kang In-ha grabbed Gisu by the collar and lifted him up. "How about it regretting it yet? If you keep just taking hits in silence like this, you'll die, and no one will even know." In response to the threat, Gisu remained silent, his eyes still staring straight at him without a hint of fear. That stubbornness drove Kang In-ha mad. He slapped Gisu's face hard. "You idiot, if you want to aim high, you better know where you're standing. If you're trash, just live like a piece of trash. You think you're the main character in a comic book or something." After a few slaps, another thunderous kick followed. Gisu went flying, like a puppet with cut strings. The crowd below began to whisper, "Crazy. That's Kang In-ha for you. Is that guy dead yet? That sounded like a bone breaking." Kang In-ha stretched, cracking his knuckles. "So exciting. Why hasn't he collapsed yet?" And then, to everyone's astonishment, Gisu once again slowly, tremblingly tried to pull himself up. Kang In-ha broke into a cold sweat. What the hell? Is this that hit should have knocked him out? He shoved his hands into his pockets, trying to act cool. "Don't bother pretending to be tough. Be careful, or I really might kill you." Gisu sat up, using the back of his hand to wipe the blood from his lips. His voice was raspy. Kill me. Is that really all you've got? Suddenly his eyes lit up in a terrifying way. An aura of killing intent enveloped his small body. He lunged like an arrow, wrapping his arms around Kang In-ha and using all his remaining strength to push him forward. This pain is nothing compared to what I've had to endure. Crash. Kang In-ha fell backward onto the floor. The audience below erupted in excitement. Whoa! The nerd is fighting back. Watching him lose it is hilarious. On the floor, Kang In-ha gritted his teeth. Damn it, I thought he'd given up. And caught me off guard. Just as Gisu swung his fist down, the result wasn't what people expected. Kang In-ha was a step faster. He dodged the blow and threw a punch that connected right with Gisu's face. Gisu was dazed. Kang In-ha laughed triumphantly, his tone full of mockery. Slow as a turtle, and you want to punch me? Gisu clenched his teeth. A crazy train of thought flashed through his head. If I don't have strength, then... Laughing triumphantly, voice dripping with sarcasm. So slow that even a turtle could outrun you, yet you think you can punch me? Gisu gritted his teeth, a crazy thought flashing through his mind. If there's no strength, then... Using sheer willpower to compensate, Gisu did the unthinkable, stunning Kang In-ha. He roared, lunging forward with every ounce of his strength to slam his head directly into his opponent's face. A sharp, sickening crack echoed through the air. Blood sprayed from Kang In-ha's nose, mingling with the crimson stream flowing from Gisu's forehead, creating a scene both tragic and savage. That desperate, reckless counterattack acted like a stimulant, driving the crowd's frenzy to its peak. The entire arena roared in excitement. Only one person remained calm. With sharp eyes locked on the ring, the student council president Jiang muttered, "Adrenaline can numb the pain, but physical damage is unavoidable. This kid actually has some guts." Immediately after that headbutt, a thunderous punch from Kang In-ha slammed into Gisu's jaw, followed by a spinning kick that sent him flying backward. He collapsed onto the cold floor. Kang In-ha stumbled to his feet, wiping the blood from his face, his eyes flashing with rage. "You lunatic! Are you really trying to die?" Gisu pushed himself up. The physical pain seemed to have vanished, replaced by a strange sensation rising within him. His eyes burned no longer with fear, but with the arrogance of one who had stared death in the face. He looked Kang In-ha straight in the eye, a question echoing in his mind. Is that really all you've got? Is this all the monsters I've feared for so long can do in this arena? Around him, the crowd began to chant his name. Gisu, Gisu. Those cheers were like fuel, igniting the fighting spirit that had just been sparked. He bit his lip, determined to risk everything. No matter what happens, I have to take him down. Why have I been trembling in fear before? People like this for so many years. Gisu roared and charged at Kang In-ha, throwing a punch with his remaining strength. But at that exact moment, a treacherous uppercut from Kang In-ha drove straight into his chest. A total knockout. The world went black for Gisu as he collapsed to the floor. Kang In-ha coldly muttered, "Sorry, but I won't lose my guard." A second time. The referee raised his hand. The winner, Kang In-ha. Gisu passed out right on the arena floor. Everything faded into silence. When Gisu finally came, night had fallen. The dim lights of the Lukman arena cast shadows on the ceiling. Where am I? Did I pass out? Memories of the match came flooding back. Right, I lost. But at least I did it. From the start, I knew I couldn't win. All I could do was charge in and hope to smash that bastard's face. I did everything I could. He clenched his fists. But if only I had been calmer, if only I had aimed for his groin from the start. No, he was too alert. If only I were stronger, even just a little bit. "You're awake." A familiar voice cut through Jisu's thoughts. He sat up, startled. Jiang was standing there, arms crossed, watching him. "Jiang, why are you still here?" "As the student council president, I have a responsibility to keep an eye on unconscious students," Jiang replied in a steady tone. "The arena is a place to protect students from violence, not a place to fight, to the death. And you know this privilege is only for today. Starting tomorrow, you won't be allowed to step foot in here because you aren't an official student of Lukman. Look out for yourself. Hearing that, all hope collapsed within Jisoo. He bowed his head, voice desperate. Then what am I supposed to do now? Jiang turned to leave, but then paused. Jisoo looked up, his eyes igniting with a fire of determination. I won't give up. Please tell me what I have to do. I want to become stronger. Seeing the burning passion in the frail student's eyes, Jiang smirked, revealing his pearly white teeth. He turned back, his voice harsh but full of intrigue. Training the weak is also part of the president's duty. Are you ready, Jisoo? Before Jisoo could even process it, Jiang threw a lightning-fast punch into his stomach. Ah! Jisoo screamed, doubling over in pain. Jiang leaned down, looking at him with an icy expression. How does it feel? Hurts like you're about to die, right? This is just the beginning. The days ahead will be much tougher. By the time this training course ends, punches like this won't mean a thing to you. Jisoo panted, clutching his stomach, looking up at the senior, who felt like a monster in front of him. The next day, Jisoo dragged himself to school. The dull ache in his stomach hadn't faded. It felt like a few ribs were broken. Jiang's instructions echoed in his head. Come to the rooftop during break. Be persistent, and you'll get stronger. He sighed. Can you really get stronger just by getting punched every day? Hey, Jisoo. Jin Do-in's voice rang out. He turned around. Jin Do-in looked at him, surprised. I thought you'd given up after yesterday's match. Jisoo instinctively smiled, a rare, confident smile. I changed my mind. Jin Do-in burst out laughing, running over to drape an arm around Jisoo's shoulder. Really looks like you're hooked on the arena, huh? The two were laughing and talking when they suddenly froze. Kang In-ha's gang was standing, blocking the path ahead. The smiles on their faces vanished. Kang In-ha glanced at Jisoo and sneered. The walking punching bag is back, huh? Jisoo's eyes flashed with resentment, but he knew he wasn't his match right now, so he stayed silent. Seeing that, Kang In-ha became even more arrogant. He stepped closer, leaning into Jisoo's ear. I didn't think you had the guts. Want revenge, know your place. Next time, I might not go so easy on you. With that, the group coolly walked past them. Jin Do-in looked at Jisoo with concern, seeing him grinding his teeth so hard his knuckles turned white. He couldn't do anything but swallow his anger. Deep down, he promised himself that one day he would make these bastards pay. That afternoon on the rooftop, the first training session officially began. Jisoo became a living punching bag for Jiang. Punches rained down on him one after another, but strangely Jiang seemed very excited. He took pleasure in seeing a weakling struggling to rise up. He grabbed Jisoo by the collar, his voice stern. Open your eyes. Don't be afraid. Look straight at my fist. Until this training is over, you are not allowed to challenge anyone. Looking at the fist as big as a dumbbell flying toward him, fear rose again in Jisoo's heart. What kind of training is this? Why do I have to suffer through this every day? And so, day after day, the school rooftop became Jisoo's own personal hell. Every day, Jisoo became a living punching bag for Jiang. Every punch, every elbow strike was a painful lesson carved into his flesh and bone. The pain gradually became a familiar companion, and Jisoo's endurance wasn't weakness but a hardening of his spirit. He was forging his will on the anvil of torment, fueling his determination to turn this frail body into a weapon. He would never be prey again. Meanwhile, at the Lukman arena, Kang In-ha remained an undefeated king, but ever since that fateful collision with Jisoo, his brutality had been elevated to a new level. He didn't just fight to win, he fought to destroy. Below the stands, two students were whispering, "Look at his face, it's like he wants to devour them alive." A cold, chilling voice rang out from behind. The two students jumped in shock, spun around and froze Kang In-ha. He had been standing there the whole time, his eyes burning like glowing embers. "If you're so confident," he enunciated every word, "why not step into the arena with me?" Fear constricted their throats. The two boys hurriedly bowed their heads, stuttering apologies. Kang In-ha smirked with contempt and turned away. Gritting his teeth and cursing the worms under his breath, he walked toward his underlings. "Where's Gisu? Haven't seen him lurking around." "Gisu," one of them scratched his head. "He's been MIA lately. Boss, I haven't seen him during break time either. He probably ran off to avoid the arena." A flash of realization struck Kang In-ha. He remembered Jiang Li's declaration Gisu would no longer be under the arena's protection. A cruel, cunning smile spread across his face. "I have a brilliant idea," he said, his voice brimming with twisted excitement, "to teach those pathetic runaways a lesson." That night in a deserted park, Gisu was pushing his limits. Sweat drenched his shirt. His lungs felt like they were burning, but he kept running. Every step was a vow. He recalled Jiang's punches, the kind of pain that made it hard to even swallow food. "If I could endure that pain, this little bit of fatigue, Bai is nothing. I have to get stronger, faster." That goal was the fuel burning away his exhaustion. Suddenly, the roar of an engine tore through the night. A motorcycle sped straight toward him. Gisu reacted with lightning speed, dodging to the side, but still caught a glancing blow. The rider turned the bike around, stopped, and walked over, scrutinizing a small scratch on the gas tank. Look at this," he snarled. 5,000,000 won. That's my precious bike and you're paying for it." Gisu panicked. "Where would I get that kind of money? You were the one who drove into me without warning." A hand grabbed Gisu's hair, followed by a thunderous punch to his face that sent him sprawling. The savage laughter of the rider's friends echoed. "We saw it all. You're the one who ran into the bike. Ha 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 ha." One punch, and he was down already, weak as a slug. Gisu slowly sat up, silently wiping the blood from his lip. This pain was nothing compared to what Jiang had put him through. Seeing Gisu show no reaction, the guy got furious. He roared, "Are you deaf? Answer me!" He raised his fist again. "You think I only want 5,000,000? Don't be stupid. Give me all the money you have, and from now on, you're my personal ATM." A truth suddenly flashed in Gisu's mind. He had long been accustomed to being tormented by a real monster. Compared to that, what were these punks? The fear vanished. Gisu shoved his hand away, stood up, and threw a punch straight at the guy's face. "Why should I give money to scum like you?" He roared, his voice filled with a newfound courage. "I'm not afraid of you anymore." But his punch was too weak. Immediately, the crowd swarmed in, pinning his arms and legs. The leader smiled and slowly pulled out a pair of shiny brass knuckles. "This guy needs a lesson," he sneered, sliding the brass knuckles on to show him just how helpless he was. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Come on, kid." The cold steel flashed toward Gisu's face. He closed his eyes, thinking his life was over, but the punch never landed. A figure flew in from nowhere like an arrow. A perfect knee strike embedded itself straight into the thug's chin. The guy flew backward and crashed to the ground unconscious. Gisu opened his eyes, mouth agape in shock. The one who had intervened was Jin Do-in, his friendly classmate. "Gisu, Do-in." Do-in was just as surprised, then broke into a radiant smile. "What a coincidence." The rest of the thugs roared and charged for revenge. One swung a fist. Do-in easily dodged and landed. A straight punch to his nose. The second guy crazily grabbed a wooden plank from the roadside and charged like a wounded beast. Do-in only needed a rising uppercut. The sound of bone breaking rang out crisply in the air. In less than 10 seconds, all three thugs were sprawled on the ground. Only the leader's girlfriend remained. She stood frozen, then panicked and ran to shake her boyfriend, screaming in despair, but he had sunk into a deep sleep thanks to Do-in's knee strike. For the first time, Gisu witnessed Jin Do-in's fighting ability. Firsthand, the moves were fast, precise and powerful, leaving him stunned. He had thought this friendly friend of his was just an ordinary student who would have expected him to hide such formidable strength. Meanwhile, the girl who had been shoved aside scrambled to her feet, her face a mix of anger and resentment. She lunged, fist raised, growling, "Hey, you two dogs, do you know who we are? We're the strongest freshmen from Jinsan Technical. Just wait until we call our seniors. You're dead." She was about to swing her hand when her boyfriend stopped her. He wiped the blood from his lip, narrowing his eyes as he looked at Jin Do-in vigilantly. "Don't. Stop. Look at his uniform. It's from Lukman School." The friend behind him also turned pale, muttering, "We hit something dangerous. I thought this guy. I was just a weirdo. Who knew he was from Lukman? Let's go." Without another word, the whole group hurriedly climbed onto their bikes, revved them with a deafening noise, and sped off like the wind, leaving Gisu standing there, bewildered. "Hey, Gisu." Do-in turned back his expression, returning to calm. "Why did you get Jui tangled up with that annoying bunch?" Gisu told him the whole story, without holding anything back, even the fact that he was being specially trained by President Jiang himself. Hearing this, Do-in's eyes lit up, his voice mixed with envy and admiration. He patted Gisu on the shoulder. "Either way, things are better now. At least you had the courage to stand up and fight back. That's what matters." Saying that, Jin Do-in stood up and threw a few sharp punches into the air. "If it were me, I wouldn't have dodged when I first met them. I would have punched their arrogant faces right away. But hey, being personally trained by Brother Jiang, you're really lucky. For someone who rejected the arena like you, the most important thing now is to adapt to Lukman. This school is not simple at all." The words of the guy on the motorcycle from earlier echoed in Gisu's mind. Just seeing the Lukman emblem, they were scared enough to run away immediately. It seemed they only left because he was a Lukman student, Gisu asked in surprise. Jin Do-in flashed a confident smile. "Of course, in this Dongnoon district, the reputation of our school is no joke." Seeing Gisu's still skeptical face, he explained further. "Lukman High, in essence, is a gathering place for the most battle-hardened people in the entire area. It used to be a school gang with a chaotic history, a jungle literally, where the weak became prey for school violence." Gisu exclaimed in horror. What Lukman was like that? "But it doesn't look like that now. It's all thanks to Brother Jiang," Jin Do-in replied, his voice full of reverence. "He single-handedly conquered this lawless school, established the arena, and set iron rules. Now all conflicts are resolved through these Ibn solo matches, which are fair and square. Meaningless violence has been replaced. But if one day the arena collapses, or Brother Jiang disappears, who can guarantee that this place won't turn back into a hellhole like before? There are still so many people craving for the chaotic Lukman of the past to return." At the arena, the air was still burning hot on the ring. A student had just been beaten to a pulp, trembling as he raised his hand to surrender. Bak Yeong, the winner, clicked his tongue in boredom. He hadn't even warmed up before his opponent collapsed. Scanning the crowd, his eyes landed on a bespectacled student sitting quietly. The bespectacled boy looked startled and confused, pointing at himself. Seeing Park Yong-ho staring straight at him, Park Yong-ho roared in a provocative tone, "Get up here. Your know-it-all attitude has been getting on my nerves this whole time." Seeing the boy hesitate, he sneered, "In this arena, do you think you have the right to refuse my challenge?" From above, Kang In-ha and his goons looked down, laughing mockingly at the losers. Kang In-ha thought to himself, wondering if they had realized where he was yet. On the ring, Park Yong-ho had lunged forward like a mad beast, throwing rights and lefts. The torrential attack left the bespectacled boy no time to react. He raised his hands to surrender, but Park Yong-ho completely ignored it. A brutal final uppercut knocked the boy out instantly. Park Yong-ho stood tall, licking his lips savagely. "Too easy." Right after he stepped down, Kang In-ha stripped off his jacket, revealing a toned physique. "My turn," he roared, then coldly strode toward the ring. Below the stands, a student with parted hair whispered to his friend, "Kang In-ha is really showing his face now. I wonder who the next victim will be. Probably not weaklings like us." But up high, Kang In-ha spoke up in an icy voice. "What are you doing down there?" Both boys jumped. Kang In-ha's knife-sharp gaze fixed on the boy with parted hair. "Drag your carcass up here right now, you dog," he stammered in fear. What me? But we don't even know each other." Kang In-ha stepped down, closing the distance, his breath reeking of danger. "Reason? You want a reason for me to beat up someone I don't like? This is an arena. Its purpose is to do exactly this. Don't you get it?" As he finished, Kang In-ha grabbed the poor student by the collar, pulling him close and growling every word like a dagger. "Or do you want to refuse like that guy Gisu?" Just then, the door swung open. Jiang walked in with the imposing aura of a general. The air in the room instantly froze. He threw an icy glare toward Kang In-ha. His voice dropped, filled with killing intent. "What the hell are you guys doing here?" Kang In-ha let go of the victim's collar, flashing a fake smile. "Just a casual invitation to spar. A small misunderstanding." He tilted his head, his eyes full of provocation as he faced Jiang. "So, Mr. President, I haven't broken any rules, have I?" The confidence of Kang In-ha was not without basis. It was all part of a pre-planned scheme. A few days ago, in a hidden corner of the school, you found a way to bypass the rules of the arena, a member of the group asked. Kang In-ha smirked. "No need. That loser dug his own grave. He was the first to openly refuse. The arena in this school. As long as you have all your limbs, whether you're a bully or the bullied, everyone is equal before violence." They always bragged about that fairness, but looking from another angle, what else was there? He paused, his eyes flashing with mischief. There are people who just love to watch others bleed, but have never stepped into the ring themselves. They hide behind the rules and enjoy a fake sense of safety. After all, a coward is a coward forever. Another guy chimed in. "Exactly. Those people never have to break a sweat." Kang In-ha nodded, "And that Gisu guy accidentally exposed himself. Now what? What happens if we challenge those who always hide behind the rules? They will have to fight at all costs if they don't want to become the second Gisu." "Exactly. That damn arena is now our playground." Back to the present, knowing he hadn't broken the rules, Kang In-ha faced Jiang without a hint of fear. As he brushed past him, he received a cold warning from the president. "I suggest your attitude is not pointless." Kang In-ha just sneered. "Sorry for the noise. I'll be more careful next time." The next day on the rooftop, the sound of impacts rang out again. Gisu was still a human punching bag for Jiang, but the punches today seemed heavier, more brutal. He felt like he was about to be beaten to death. But then something unexpected happened. As Jiang's fist flew in, Gisu suddenly shifted his feet, took a stance, and raised both arms to block. Bam! A perfect block. Jiang paused, his eyes gleaming with surprise. Gisu was still trembling, but a spark of confidence was growing inside him. "I can do this. I'm not as scared as I was before." Jiang smiled with interest. "Oh, looks like you've learned how to use your fists." Even more surprisingly, right after that, Gisu roared and threw a counterpunch. Even though Jiang easily dodged it, that moment marked a change. That's right, in the end, if I want to win, I have to hit him. But Gisu's clumsy punches, accompanied by silly grunts, couldn't trouble Jiang. He easily dodged, then unleashed a lightning-fast hook to Gisu's stomach. "Shut your mouth," Jiang snapped. "Stop making those weird sounds. You look like a loser." Gisu doubled over, saliva dripping from his mouth. He was hitting harder than usual. Suddenly, Jiang spoke up, his voice serious. "There are two things. If you master these two things, you can win any match." Then Jiang led Gisu to an abandoned club house. Cobwebs covered the entrance, dust thick everywhere. "What are we doing here?" Gisu asked blankly. Jiang didn't answer, just gestured toward the door. Inside was an old training dummy, the kind that can measure a fighter's punch force. Jiang got into position, demonstrating while explaining. First posture. Keep your hands up to your chin, tuck your chin in feet, shoulder width apart, move rhythmically. Second, the basic combo. A light jab with the lead hand. First, keep it light. Second, punch shift. Your weight, rotate your hips, and deliver the finisher. Whoosh. Jiang landed a punch. The machine only showed 1 point, but the sound was loud as a gunshot. Gisu gasped in horror. "Your turn." Gisu followed exactly, putting all his strength into the second punch. He felt very confident, but when he looked at the screen, the number was still 0. Jiang threw another punch. Too weak. "This machine is broken. It only registers when the punch is strong enough to be considered a damaging blow. You have to be stronger. Find the right stance. Don't show your face. To me again, until you score a point." Jiang laughed arrogantly, pointing at the screen. The number from his punch had just jumped to 9,999. At another hallway in school, a student with thick eyebrows looked dejectedly at his phone. A breakup text from his girlfriend made him crumble. Clearly yesterday it was still fine. Lost in thought, he bumped into Park Yong-ho. "Sorry, I'm sorry." But Park Yong-ho had no intention of letting it go. He sneered and tripped the student. I lost my balance and sprawled out, my phone flying away and the screen shattering. Park Yong-ho burst into cruel laughter. The student looked up furious and shouted, "You did that on purpose. Is that right?" Park Yong-ho smirked, his voice dripping with defiance. "I did it by accident. What's with that look? If you have a problem, get in the ring and settle it." The guy with the thick eyebrows went silent, fear choking back any resistance. The ring, that was nothing more than a public execution ground where you'd be tortured until you were unrecognizable. He hurriedly shook his head, taking all the blame upon himself, his voice as faint as a mosquito's. Park Yong-ho's arrogant laughter rang out, a triumphant and disgusting sound. He patted the guy on the shoulder in a mock-friendly way. "Listen clearly," he said, loud enough for everyone around to hear. "This isn't school violence. It's just a minor accident. Be more careful where you're walking next time." From a corner, Jin Do-in had seen it all. He rushed over to support his trembling friend. "That bastard did it on purpose." Jin Do-in gritted his teeth. "We have to report this to the student council." "Let it go." The thick-eyebrowed guy waved him off, his voice dejected. "It's nothing big." Jin Do-in slumped, looking at his friend with disbelief. Meanwhile, Kang In-ha's group walked away with their heads held high like kings bestowing a favor. Jin Do-in's eyes blazed as he watched their backs. "This debt. I will definitely make them pay for what they did to my friend." At lunch, Jisoo sat in the canteen trying to fill his empty stomach. During the break, he had punched the machine hundreds of times, but his score hadn't budged. "How much harder do I have to hit?" he thought, while chewing ravenously, his hunger gnawing at him like a wild beast. "Watch it," a voice rang out right behind Jisoo. Before he could turn around, a whole tray of food was dumped straight onto his head. Rice soup and food stuck to his hair and oozed down his face. "Oh, is that Jisoo?" Park Yong-ho laughed, a fake smile. That was truly disgusting. "Sorry, my bad. Where have you been hiding every break lately? We missed you, you dog." He swung his hand and slapped Jisoo's back once, twice, 3 times. Each slap was an insult. "It's so good to see you again. You feel the same, right?" His sleazy grin, his actions. Everything was part of a plan that had been laid out beforehand. In a secluded corner of the school, Kang In-ha had given the order, "We have to provoke him, drag him into the ring. We have to show him the consequences of daring to oppose us." Park Yong-ho crossed his arms and confidently declared, Leave this to me. You don't need to lift a finger to drag a bug out of its hole. And now that bug had finally acted. Jisoo grabbed Park Yong-ho's wrist. Surprise flickered across the bully's face, then quickly turned into a sneer. Oh, our dear Jisoo knows how to fight back. Now, you look cuter when you're angry. Even though he was being brave, Jisoo still felt his heart pounding against the bully's malicious gaze. He gritted his teeth, cold sweat breaking out. Uncle Jang told me not to enter the ring until I finished my training, but things have come to this. I've been training so hard. Just as he was about to lose control, Jin Do-in suddenly appeared. Oops, I slipped, and the entire tray of food in his hands flew straight into Park Yong-ho's face. They say don't hit a man while he's eating. Jin Do-in nonchalantly brushed off his hands, his voice dripping with sarcasm. You should know your limits, you dog. You bastard, Park. Yong-ho roared, wiping the food off his face. When he realized it was Jin Do-in, his rage exploded. Are you crazy? You want to die? Facing Park. Yong-ho's fury. Jin Do-in just held his head high and smirked. Sorry about that. This isn't school violence. I just slipped. He leaned in close to Park Yong-ho's face and glared. Actually, I've been wanting to beat you up for a while now. Perfect timing. Let's head to the arena. I'll teach you a lesson properly. 10 minutes later in the restroom, Jin Do-in was washing his stained shirt. Jisoo approached, his voice full of guilt. Jin Do-in, I'm sorry. Because of me. Ha ha ha, what are you saying? Jin Do-in laughed it off. I didn't do it for you, even though it's true he was targeting you. I've wanted to smash Kang In-ha's gang for a long time. They are turning the arena into chaos. You don't go there so you wouldn't know. They drag the weaker kids into the ring and torture them, saying that it's just negative emotions. They kick and punch people. I couldn't stand by and watch anymore. Why do you want to protect the arena? Jisoo wondered. You're so strong, what does it matter if it exists or not? Jin Do-in stopped what he was doing. He told a story of a past Jisoo could never have imagined. Before I was just like you, Jin Do-in's voice deepened. A chubby kid, a perfect target for bullies. I couldn't do anything but endure. I cried, I hated myself for being so cowardly. They even poured a bottle of urine into my mouth. That hell is the only word Jin Do-in could use to describe that time. He had once thought about death, but then a glimmer of light appeared in his eyes. Someone had shown up and saved him. That night he gave me a piece of paper. Jin Do-in held out his hand and clenched it, as if still holding that fateful paper. It said, do you want to try diet boxing? That man was the owner of a gym, and from the first day I stepped inside, my life changed. Every drop of sweat, every calorie burned, every muscle ache they forged, the person I am now. Boxing saved me. It was a journey of transformation filled with pain and sweat. Every day Jin Do-in threw himself into training like a madman, turning his heavy, chubby body into a fighting machine, toned and flexible. His newfound strength became a weapon for him to seek justice. Every person who bullied him in the past now had to taste the fear they once sowed. Jin Do-in's appearance became a nightmare because at the school not one of them was a match for him. Those amateur thugs. Jin Do-in recounted to Jisoo, his eyes flashing with confidence. They look tough, but facing me they're nothing. Uncle Jang's rules might seem harsh, but they allow me to fight with my own real ability, no longer held back by the fear of being ganged up on. That's why I want to protect it. Just you wait. I'll show that bastard Park Yong-ho what respect is. The arena was hotter than ever today. The air was thick with the sound of cheering and screaming, all focused on the main event, Park Yong-ho versus Jin Do-in in the ring. The two opponents glared at each other, the tension thick enough to cut. I don't know where you got the guts to challenge me. Park Yong-ho smirked, his voice full of mockery. But I'll soon show you that it's the most stupid decision of your life. Jin Do-in just laughed a mischievous grin. Planning to win with just your trash talk? Stop barking and fight." "In such a hurry," Park Yong-ho retorted. Under the stands, Jisoo held his breath, watching with clenched fists, silently praying for his friend. The signal to begin rang out. Park Yong-ho struck first. He lunged like a leopard, throwing a powerful straight punch, but Jin Do-in, with a graceful movement, dodged to the side. 1, 2, then 3 straight punches from Park Yong-ho, but all of them just sliced through the air. He started to find it unbelievable, and then, in a moment of carelessness, Jin Do-in countered. A clean, precise hook landed flush on Park Yong-ho's jaw. The whole arena gasped in shock. Jin Do-in's speed was truly unbelievable. Park Yong-ho was also stunned. He stepped back a few paces, looking at Jin Do-in with a completely different expression. That defensive stance, those footwork movements, that was definitely professional boxing. Not waiting for his opponent to regain his focus, Jin Do-in took the initiative. He darted forward, unleashing a storm of rapid-fire jabs. Park Yong-ho, though surprised, still showed the mettle of a top-tier fighter, leaning back to dodge skillfully. He suddenly realized something. Jin Do-in's punches were fast, but they lacked real power. "Is that all you've got?" he roared, throwing a counterpunch. "I'm stronger than you." He crouched to dodge Jin Do-in's next punch, but it was a trap. The punch was just a feint. As Park Yong-ho looked up, another fist was waiting right in front of his face. He couldn't react in time and took the full force of the blow right in the center of his face. Jin Do-in smiled. Victorious. Park Yong-ho gritted his teeth in frustration, furious at being tricked so stupidly. Below the stands, Jisoo's jaw dropped, then she burst into excited laughter. "So strong, awesome, Park Yong-ho. Can't even lay a finger on him." The 2 makeshift commentators in the back were also buzzing. Park Yong-ho's winning streak is about to be snapped. This match is getting interesting. On the stage, Park Yong-ho seemed to go insane. He lunged in, throwing punches wildly, but all of them were useless. "Why can't I land a single hit?" Jin Do-in moved like a ghost. Every time he dodged a strike, he countered with another. He had completely taken control of the rhythm of the fight. The final powerful and precise punch sent Park Yong-ho crashing to the floor. Trembling, Park Yong-ho struggled to get up, breathing heavily, his body covered in bruises. "Is that really all you've got?" Jin Do-in cracked his knuckles, his voice full of contempt. "Weak as a slug, and you still want to pick a fight? Stop defiling this arena. Get lost." Suddenly, Park Yong-ho's gaze drifted up to the stands. There, Kang In-ha stood with his arms crossed, looking down with a cold, disappointed glare. That look was like a knife stabbing into his pride. Park Yong-ho laughed, a bitter, forced laugh. "Don't worry, I won't lose." He stood up straight, his body seemingly infused with a new surge of energy. "Fine," he said in a low voice. "I admit your boxing is better than mine. From now on, I'm getting serious." He lowered his center of gravity into a new stance. Jin Do-in immediately realized these were no longer street fighting moves. This was Muay Thai. "Here it comes, you son of a bitch!" Park Yong-ho roared. "Let me show you what hell feels like." Jin Do-in was briefly surprised, but quickly regained his composure. He thought his opponent would use kicks, and with a daring thought, he lunged forward too. "I've got a sweep kick too." But he was wrong. Jin Do-in's kick collided with Park Yong-ho's shin, creating a dry, cracking sound. It felt like he had just kicked a concrete pillar. Jin Do-in panicked, and Park Yong-ho seized the opening. He closed the distance, unleashing damaging elbows and knees. Jin Do-in scrambled to jump back, but Park Yong-ho lunged forward like a tiger, leaping into the air to unleash a soaring, spinning kick, a signature technique of Muay Thai. Jin Do-in realized Park Yong-ho's intention, but it was too late. The kick came too fast and too hard. He could only raise his arms by reflex. Boom! A terrifying force slammed down. Jin Do-in felt like he had been hit by a truck. His whole body flew backward and hit the ground hard. He tried to struggle up, his arms shaking violently. What the hell was that? I clearly blocked it. Why does it still hurt so much? Before Jin Do-in could steady himself, Park Yong-ho charged like a wild beast, unleashing a barrage of kicks aimed at his arms. Each blow that landed made Jin Do-in feel like his bones were about to shatter. Jisoo screamed in panic. On the ring, Jin Do-in had completely lost the upper hand. He staggered, trying to keep his balance. Park Yong-ho stood across from him, smirking triumphantly. What's wrong? Come at me like before. Are you scared? Jin Do-in gritted his teeth. That bastard! Why? Are his kicks so freakishly strong? They're completely different from his punches. Are we still kicking? If one of those lands, I'm dead. My turn now, Park Yong-ho roared, swinging his fist as he lunged forward. Jin Do-in's mind was now haunted by his opponent's powerful kicks. He completely forgot to defend against the punches, a fatal mistake. He helplessly raised his arms to block, letting Park Yong-ho pummel him. Seizing the opening, Park Yong-ho suddenly lowered his center of gravity and delivered a brutal sweep kick to Jin Do-in's leg. Crack. A stinging pain pierced through him. Jin Do-in collapsed onto one leg, completely losing all feeling. He couldn't stand anymore. Park Yong-ho had no intention of stopping. He raised his leg, aiming straight for Jin Do-in's head, preparing to deliver the finishing blow. But the moment his heel nearly touched Jin Do-in's temple, a shadow lunged out. The referee had intervened. Jin Do-in squeezed his eyes shut, ready to accept his fate, not even knowing he had just escaped death. The referee's knee had blocked the lethal kick at the very last second. The opponent has lost the ability to continue fighting. Any further attacks will result in disqualification. His voice rang out cold and firm. It was Helgunhee, the class president of the 12th grade. Park Yong-ho sullenly pulled his leg back. He stepped off the ring, clicking his tongue, eyeing the crowd. His gaze stopped on Jisoo. Only just warmed up, and I get stopped. Oh well, it's been a long time since there was a match this interesting. I guess even you guys who usually hide like rats finally dared to show your faces, huh? His smile and mocking words were etched into Gisoo's mind like a knife wound. Gisoo helped Jin Do-in head home his friend's body as limp as a rag doll. For Jin Do-in at that moment, the physical pain was nothing compared to the humiliation of losing. His defeat had only bolstered the arrogance of the thugs in the arena. At first you were clearly gaining the upper hand, Gisoo wondered. Just because of one kick, and it changed the whole situation. Jin Do-in reflected on the match. His kicks were much stronger than I thought. A suspicious power. It was hard as steel. Arriving home, Jin Do-in, Jisoo declined the invitation to come inside for a drink. She hurriedly said goodbye and turned to run away. Jin Do-in stared blankly at Jisoo's retreating back, not understanding where his friend was rushing off to. The next day, at Kang In-ha's classroom, a few students from another class brought over a pair of expensive new sneakers as a welcoming gift for joining Kang In-ha's group. He accepted them with a cold tone. I value capability more than good intentions, but something is better than nothing. I hope we work well together. Park Yong-ho walked up. It seems like Gisoo didn't come to school today. Kang In-ha stood up. He's here. Why mention him? Isn't now the time to deal with him? Kang In-ha. With a sly, calculating smirk, he shrugged. I don't need you anymore. The tides have changed. He explained slowly. Taking down Jin Do-in was more than enough to prove our strength. Picking a fight with a weakling like Gisoo now, that'd just be embarrassing for us. A boy with slicked back hair chimed in. So what now, handing out flyers to recruit members? Kang In-ha gave a devious grin. Nope. The plan to take over the 10th grade is complete. It's time for the next step, the next phase of Kang In-ha's plan. It was a meeting with the 11th grade seniors. Sun Si-woo, a well-known upperclassman, stared blankly at the uninvited juniors. Kang In-ha smiled, his voice honey-sweet. Hello seniors, we've heard so much about you. So we decided to pay a visit. Sun Siwoo curled his lip. I don't have time to chat with 10th grade brats who are still wet behind the ears. In their eyes, we were just small fry. Kang In-ha understood. He kept his smile, adding, because you guys are the legends of the previous generation. Sun Siwoo looked momentarily caught off guard, but then Kang In-ha's attitude shifted instantly, his tone turning arrogant. Legends. Legends kicked to the curb, now having to hide like washed-up old men. What did you just say, you little brat? Sun Siwoo snapped, grabbing Kang In-ha by the collar. You want to die? Facing the threat, Kang In-ha remained strangely calm. It's truly a pity. Back then you had to fight alone. But now it's different. The situation has changed. Sun Siwoo froze. What was the real strategy, the true intent hidden behind Kang In-ha's disgusting smile? At the same time, on the windy rooftop, the referee, Heo Gun-hee, was facing Gang. This arena is rotting from the inside out, he said, his voice laced with anxiety. If we keep letting them bend the rules, this place will turn into a graveyard for the weak. This isn't a child's game anymore. And most importantly, he is Kang Han-hee's younger brother. You know what that means. Gang remained silent, letting Gun-hee's words sink in. Then he replied with a cold, almost cruel tone, Rules are rules. What? Gun-hee was stunned. You intend to just sit back and watch? Gang didn't answer. Right then, his phone buzzed. 2 words appeared on the screen, Lee Gisu. Gang entered the secret training room ready for a lecture. I told you no contact until you reached your goal. Tired and want to give up already. But his words choked in his throat. Before Gang was an unbelievable sight, Gisu was gasping for air next to the punching machine, drenched in sweat. On the screen, a fiery red number flickered, 9,999. The maximum score. Gang was dumbfounded. In such a short time, this weak kid had achieved the impossible. Gisu lifted his head. A smile, exhausted but defiant, spread across his lips. His voice rasped with fatigue. Tell me, what's the next lesson? Memories of the fight. With Jin Do-in played in his head like a haunting slow-motion film. The image of his friend being beaten to a pulp and the triumphant face of Park Young-ho had become a fire burning in his soul. Right after leaving the arena, Gisu had sprinted like a madman to the training room. Hatred was his fuel, and he had to forge it into a weapon faster, stronger. He poured all his resentment and humiliation into every punch. The machine rattled violently under his fury. He saw the faces of Kang In-ha and Park Young-ho on the punching bag. He punched and punched and punched. A kid with empty hands like him could only rely on effort. One punch might be weak, but what about 100, 1,000? Gang's advice echoed in his head, find your own stance. Gisu realized the problem: his foundation had to be solid. He widened his stance more than Gang's. He lowered his center of gravity, feeling the power surge from the ground up. He lacked weight and raw muscle, so he had to use everything he had. Then he thought about the punch, how to generate maximum impact. He visualized a golf swing, shifting his hips and releasing all that energy into a single point. Thwack. The first punch with the new technique, the screen, jumped to 3 points. A tiny number, but it was a ray of hope. The neon lights of the arcade spilled into the training room, creating dancing shadows on the walls. The sound of punches echoed steadily, dry and sharp. Gisu had found the formula. His body began to memorize the movement. 134. Each punch was stronger than the last. 4,428. 5,651. He no longer felt the pain. His knuckles were swollen, skin torn, and blood soaked his hand wraps, but he didn't stop. The physical pain was nothing compared to the agony in his soul. Success always demands a price, and Gisu was ready to pay it in blood and sweat. And then that moment arrived. Thwack, one final punch, pouring everything he had left into it. The screen flickered and the number stopped 9,999. He had done it. When facing Gang Gisu's exhaustion finally hit him, but in his eyes was an inextinguishable flame. "I don't have time to waste," he said, his voice full of determination. The frantic effort of Gisu had awakened something in Gang. A rare smile appeared on his lips. "Good. We'll move on to the next lesson, but prepare yourself. It will be much harsher than hell." The words were barely out when Gisu's body went limp. He collapsed forward, leaning against Gang, gasping for air. Gang caught him. He knew well that after pushing the body to its absolute limit, recovery was also part of the training process. The real battle had just begun. The following night at the Six Gates Arena, the air was strangely cold. Standing in the middle of the ring, Park Young-ho looked down at the sparse crowd and spoke with contempt. "What is this? Only a few stragglers. Not even half the usual turnout. You little rats starting to get scared, are you?" Suddenly, a deep, powerful voice boomed from behind him. "Scared of who, scared? Looks like it's time to teach you insolent 10th graders a lesson." Park Young-ho started turning around. A young man with sharp eyes wearing the uniform of the disciplinary committee was approaching him. He cursed inwardly, "Damn it, the disciplinary committee." It was Choi Se-gwan, a second-year student. He stepped onto the ring, cracking his knuckles. "From the very first time I saw that dragon head on your arm, you've been an eyesore. Is that reason enough for us to have a go at each other? You go around picking fights for even stupider reasons, don't you?" Park Young-ho was struck dumb, stuttering, That, By the ringside, the referee Heo Gun-hee frowned. The situation was spiraling out of control. "I can't just stand by anymore. Tit for tat, is it?" Right at that moment, the arena doors were kicked open once again. A boisterous and arrogant new force flooded in. The ringleader hadn't even fully stepped inside before he started spewing nonsense. "The atmosphere is so tense, huh? I heard the arena was lively these days, so I just came to join the fun. Picking on freshmen? How ridiculous. Maybe I should dance a little to break the tension." Sun Se-vu and his lackeys had arrived, all dancing to Kang In-ha's strings. Heo Han-hee stepped out immediately to block their path. "Sun Se-vu, what are you doing here?" Sun Se-vu smirked. I'm at the arena to fight, obviously. I'm still a student of the Six Gates, aren't I? Don't play dumb." Heo Han-hee gritted his teeth, his voice strained. "After what happened last time, you actually have the nerve to show your face. Here, come on, let bygones be bygones, Class President Heo." Sun Se-vu shrugged with a provocative expression. Just then, Kang In-ha stepped out from behind him. "That's right, senior. Why are you being so harsh, Heo Han-hee?" He froze when he saw Kang In-ha. "Coming here with this crowd. The audience is already thinning out. Adding a few new faces makes it more fun, right?" Senior, Kang In-ha continued, his gaze showing no restraint. Now that he had a force backing him, he didn't care about Heo Han-hee at all. "What's wrong, scared? Ah." He added another jab in a taunting tone. While the Six Gates Arena was sinking into chaos elsewhere, Zhang was leading Gisu to a secluded area. "What kind of training is this in such a gloomy place?" Gisu thought to himself, shivering. It looked like an abandoned graveyard. Surely there were ghosts here. Finding him, Zhang's voice echoed, making Gisu jump in fright. "What's today's training?" Gisu asked blankly. Zhang crossed his arms, his voice deepening. "Have you ever heard the history of the Six Gates?" "No, sir. In the past, high schools in Yongnoon waged wars to compete for the title of overlord. Six Gates was the absolute victor. After we unified the district, the other schools were forced to retreat into their own territories." "What does that have to do with today's training?" Gisu still didn't understand. "Where you are standing right now is the territory of the Jin-san Tech students," Zhang said, and each of his words hit Gisu like a hammer. "Now the schools aren't at war, but trespassing on each other's territory is still considered a blatant act of provocation." "What?" Gisu shouted. Ignoring him, Jiang turned around and slammed the iron gate shut. The locking sound echoed coldly. The back gate is still open. Find your own way out. There is no better lesson than real combat, kid. Jiang's words hit like a bolt of lightning. Gisu had only been practicing punching for a few days, and now he had to face an entire gang alone. He panicked, banging on the gate. "Senior, what the hell are you doing?" Terrified and furious, he gritted his teeth and turned around. And then, from the shadows, the roar of a motorcycle engine. The same group from before appeared. "Who the hell is making noise on our turf?" They stepped off their bikes, and when they recognized Gisu, the guy in charge smirked. "Oh, look who it is! Isn't this the nerd from Six Gates?" The final image of that girl flashed through Gisu's mind. He remembered her angry scream perfectly, before she ran away. "We're freshmen from Jinsan Tech, you bastard!" Gisu swallowed hard. "Oh crap, I'm really dead this time." 4 hulking thugs stepped forward to surround him, their tone mocking and triumphant. "Look who's here. You know the world has changed, right? Running into you here is such a treat. Hey, hey. So courageous. To sneak into our territory all by yourself. You're a dead man today, kid." The leader stepped forward, his massive hand grabbing Gisu's head and squeezing hard. "What's wrong, scared stiff? Ah, you idiot." But what the leader didn't expect was that Gisu wasn't scared at all. He was mumbling something. "Hey, what the hell are you muttering? Speak up before I smash your face in." Gisu didn't hear him. He was reciting the lesson etched into his mind after hundreds of hours of training. 2 fists by the chin-chin, tucked feet shoulder-width apart, fluid footwork. A straight punch with the lead hand putting all the weight into the hook. Finished with the review, Gisu lifted his head. Whoosh, a punch was thrown fast, as lightning grazing the leader's cheek. That was just a feint, because the real punch, the one crystallized from a week of grueling training, followed immediately after. It was so fast that the naked eye couldn't follow it. The leader only had time to widen his eyes in surprise, and then thud. A punch packing all of Gisu's strength and willpower hammered straight into his jaw. A dry, cracking sound rang out. The leader collapsed like a chopped-down tree. His lackeys stood there with their jaws dropped, speechless. They couldn't believe their eyes. The weak kid they used to bully had transformed into a monster in such a short time. Gisu stood there, his fist still smoking. He looked at the result of his effort, a confident smile blooming on his lips. "Good. You finally get it, don't you?" At the same time, at the Six Gates arena, the scene was just as brutal. Choi Se-kwan was gasping for air in Son Se-vu's grip, his face bruised and swollen. I surrender. Please spare me." Se-kwan groaned. Son Se-vu smirked, lifting Se-kwan up with just one hand, showing off his terrifying strength to the lackeys cheering below. "If I knew the arena was this fun, I would have come sooner." He laughed arrogantly. "Calling yourselves a disciplined squad, yet you're weak as slugs." "Stop it, Heo Gun-hee." The match referee stepped onto the ring. He glared at Son Se-vu. "At least find an opponent of equal caliber before you start preaching." Son Se-vu dropped Se-kwan and brushed off his hands. "Fine. Whatever, we have other things to do anyway. And look, there's only us left here, right?" Heo Gun-hee looked around the ring, which was now empty. The remaining students had all fled due to the chaos and Son Se-vu's arrival. They were afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. He thought to himself, his gaze shifting to Kang In-ha. "Hey, Kang In-ha. Is this what you wanted by dragging Son Se-vu here?" Kang In-ha wore a nasty smile. "Senior, if you're so eager to fight, why not pick a nice day? Somewhere else. The arena is empty now. We don't need to follow these childish rules anymore." Heo Gun-hee clenched his fists until he turned pale. Son Se-vu added fuel to the fire. "Hear that, Gun-hee? Go tell that guy Jiang that we want a real fight, not this playground." He gritted his teeth, gnashing them. He had been backed into a corner. Fighting outside was against the rules he and Zhang had set to protect the students. Back at Jinsan School, Gisu was enjoying the feeling of victory. He understood. He knew how to throw a devastating punch. Now he just needed to train until it became instinct. Suddenly, one of the remaining group members roared and lunged at him. "You bastard! You dare to strike on our territory! You're dead!" He threw a straight punch at Gisu's face, but it was useless. His body, now accustomed to Zhang's thunderous strikes, made this hit feel like nothing more than an itch. Gisu didn't even bother to dodge, just staring blankly at him. "Punches from weaklings like you don't work on me anymore." Finishing his sentence, Gisu unleashed a counterpunch. The second guy flew backward, splayed out on the ground. Seeing his companions defeated, the last one went crazy, screaming, "What the hell is this?" He lunged, throwing both fists, but when they collided, the difference in strength was absolute. Gisu easily gained the upper hand, and the third guy went flying even further. After 3 punches, 3 of the bullies went down. The thug that Gisu had just taken out scrambled back to his feet, tasting the metallic tang of blood in his mouth. He glared at Gisu, his mind reeling. This little brat, how is he so different? Last time his punches were weak as a snail's, but now it feels like a boulder smashed into my face. Now only the ringleader's girlfriend was left. She raised her weak fist, trying to act intimidating. "You nerd, do you have any idea what you've done? You're a dead man." Just then, from the shadows, another pack of wolves emerged. 9 students from Jinsan High walked out. With fierce eyes, they surrounded Gisu. "A kid from Luke Mon School," one of them sneered. "Take him down." Gisu swallowed hard. This is bad. He squinted, his brain running at full capacity. Time to fight. There's no way I can win. What should I do? Seeing the reinforcements arrive, the girl started acting cocky again. "See the situation now, nerd. Today is your funeral." But instead of panicking, Gisu took action. He lunged toward the ringleader's motorcycle, hopped on, turned the key, and revved the engine. The roar of the motor tore through the tense air. If his fists weren't enough, he'd use steel. Gisu didn't sit on the bike. He stood to the side and twisted the throttle all the way. He shoved the bike straight into the crowd like a metallic beast. However, he had underestimated the weight and unpredictability of the machine. The handlebars wobbled and the bike lurched like a drunkard. The Jinsan students laughed. "Ha, look at him! How cute! What a disgrace you are, kid!" But just as the bike neared them, Gisu suddenly let go. The machine lost control and barreled straight into their formation. Chaos erupted. Screams and the sound of colliding metal filled the air. While they were still in shock, Gisu spoke up, his voice ice cold. "Since when did I give you permission to speak?" That question drew all their attention, and that was their fatal mistake. Gisu shot forward like a lightning bolt. A perfect uppercut slammed into the nearest blonde guy's jaw. Taking advantage of the surprise, he turned and ran for his life, temporarily escaping. He panted as he sprinted. "If it were one-on-one, I could handle them, but not like this. I've never craved the ring as much as I do now, where it's just 2 people, no dirty gang-ups." His eyes suddenly fixed on a classroom building. A bold idea flashed in his mind. Not a ring, but it could serve the same purpose. He darted into the building. A moment later, the Jinsan students chased him eagerly, charging up the stairs. At the top, Gisu stood waiting. "You're here, huh?" he said in a low voice. "One by one, come on up if you've got the guts." They burst out laughing. "Did this guy hit his head on something? You've got nowhere to run, you bastard." They didn't realize they had walked into a death trap. The narrow space of the staircase neutralized their numbers advantage. This was a one-on-one fight. The first guy aggressively charged up. Gisu needed only one clean, straight punch. The guy fell backward, triggering chaos among those below. The second and third met the same fate. Gisu's punches, aided by the height advantage, were incredibly powerful. Gisu smiled in satisfaction. Just need to take them all out, and I'm free. But life doesn't always go as planned. Come on, all of you, I'll take everyone on. Gisu was hyped up when suddenly a bowl of instant noodles fell from the sky. It slammed right onto his head. Hot broth and noodles splattered everywhere. Immediately after, a figure from the floor above swung off the railing, dove down, and unleashed a kick like a bolt from the blue. It hit Gisu in the ribs. The surprise kick made Gisu lose his balance, rolling down the stairs and landing right in the middle of the pack of wolves waiting below. Another Jin-san student, who looked much older, frowned as he looked down. I was enjoying my noodles, and now I have to see the face of a Lukman kid. Gisu looked up, cursing under his breath. Damn it, there's someone upstairs too. Anger overwhelmed his reason. He rushed up the stairs, but the senior had already come down. A direct kick, fast and powerful, smashed into Gisu's mouth. He flew backwards, spitting out a mouthful of blood. What the hell is this? This guy is much stronger than the small fry from before. The senior glared at his underlings. 10 minutes to finish him, then drag him to me. He glanced at his shattered bowl of noodles, his irritation clearly visible on his face. 5 minutes, actually. Take care of him for me. With that, he turned his back and walked away, leaving Gisu surrounded by a crowd fueled by the desire for revenge. Even though he was pinned to the floor, enduring brutal kicks, Gisu's eyes never left the one who dumped noodles on his head. He watched the back of the guy walking leisurely away, his teeth grinding. Damn it, just because one ringleader shows up, the whole bunch, of these rats, thinks there's something special. The Jin-san mob hit harder and harder, but Gisu's will was not extinguished. If I can't win with strength, there's only one way. With an explosive burst of power born from desperation, Gisu struggled and broke free from the encirclement. The senior walking down the stairs heard the commotion and turned back, clicking his tongue. He muttered with disdain, "Unbelievable! The first years can't even handle one nerd." But just as he finished his sentence, a figure darted down, like a bullet. It was Gisu. He had been restrained and held back, but he had poured every ounce of his remaining strength into lunging forward. "It won't take 5 minutes," Gisu roared. Crash. He used all his might and slammed his head straight into the other guy's face. A sickening thud echoed. The other guy clutched his face in pain while Gisu lost his balance. He tumbled down to the foot of the stairs. The guy screamed in a rage, ordering his underlings to catch Gisu. But below, Gisu wore a twisted smile, painful yet full of satisfaction. He had succeeded. Taking advantage of the chaos, he jumped up and ran blindly toward the outside. The back gate was right in front of him. Only 100 meters left. Freedom was so close. But then the roar of a motorcycle engine sounded from behind. A bike zoomed past him and screeched to a halt, blocking the gate. A new obstacle. Gisu. The rider was dragging the student he had just knocked out. He looked at Gisu and flashed a twisted grin. "Is it you? The one who brought my underlings down? Damn, seeing you in person is even more annoying. Getting beaten to a pulp by a toothpick like you, they really are useless. But you don't look half bad. I like cute ones." He licked his lips in a disgusting way, his eyes locked on Gisu. He was Huang Hin-jin, the king of Jin-san High. Gisu gritted his teeth. Who is this guy? A motorcycle on school grounds and dragging someone behind it. He hadn't even recovered from the shock when the students from before caught up from behind. Gisu turned back, his heart sinking. It's over. Surrounded on both sides, where do I run? But then an unexpected scene unfolded. When the students saw Huang Hin-jin, they turned pale, trembling as they bowed their heads. Senior Huang Hin-jin. Huang Hin-jin glanced at their pathetic state. Looks like you guys got served by this kid, huh? Wait a second. I'll turn you into something as pretty as him soon. The ringleader from earlier panicked and screamed, No, no! No seniors, we'll handle him ourselves. But Huang Hyunjin couldn't hear them anymore. Like a beast that had just found its favorite prey, his eyes gleamed with a sickly manic light. He flicked his tongue out like a venomous snake and hissed, "Don't touch my prey." The whole group froze, and the most miserable person right now was Gizu. Trapped in the midst of the wolf pack, he had already half guessed that the one standing before him was the boss of this place. But look at him, small, scrawny, with none of the presence he expected from a boss. "Don't be afraid, Gisu, speed is the key," he told himself, keeping silent. He clenched his fists and lunged straight at Hwang Hyunjin. A left hook was thrown with all his might, but Hyunjin only had to tilt his head slightly to dodge it. "How cute," he smirked, "daring to attack me at my door." With that, he suddenly dropped his center of gravity, grabbed Gisu's legs, and rammed into him like a bulldozer. Gisu felt his body lifted right off the ground. What kind of strength is this? He was sent flying backward. No, there was no way to brace for the impact. The fall slammed into his internal organs, leaving him in agony. Not stopping there, Hwang Hyunjin walked over, grabbed him by the collar, and lifted him up like a rag doll. "Don't! Giving up already? Play with me a little longer, it's fun, kid." Not waiting for an answer, he wrapped his arms around Gisu, executing a perfect suplex that drove Gisu's head straight into the hard ground. A terrifying collision. In his daze, Gisu's final conscious thought was a silent scream. "I'm dead. I'm actually dead. Look at how pathetic he is. Who told him to be so insolent toward our school?" A senior laughed mockingly. The ringleader quickly barked, "Shut up. Once we're done with him, it's your turn." Hwang Hyunjin still hadn't let go of Gisu's unconscious body. He flicked his tongue again, his eyes flashing with perversion. "Passed out already? Try to struggle a bit more, won't you? The game has only just begun." But just as his smug smile bloomed, Gisu, with one final extraordinary effort, snapped awake and kicked him square in the face. Even while being held in the air, he growled, "You're a shrimp, yet you love calling people cute. Cute my ass, you're the one who's cute." That word cute was like a spark setting Hwang Hyunjin's mind ablaze. He stood frozen, stunned, muttering like a madman, "I'm cute." The senior standing nearby turned pale. He knew everything was over. That guy is dead meat. He knew the rumors about Hwang Hyunjin's past, about how he was bullied for being small, and the unwritten rule in front of Hwang Hyunjin, you'd rather die than say the word cute. As soon as Gisu made that remark, the air instantly thickened. He could feel the shift. Here it is. Gisu thought the moment of truth. One punch. Knock this boss out and get out of this hellhole Jin San school. But all his calculations were miserably wrong. In a blink, Hwang Hyunjin was right on top of him, grabbing his collar. The last thing Gisu saw was the eyes of the boss flashing with a strange demonic light, and a voice whispered like a demon, "Come here with me." Instantly, Gisu's world turned upside down. He used his own weight to drag them, both down to the ground. A suffocating feeling washed over him. His body went completely numb. He had fallen into a tight trap, a perfect hold. Hwang Hyunjin laughed with glee. With his hands raised to the sky, his legs clamped around Gisu's neck like a steel vice. "This little tiger cub is truly top tier." The senior, watching from afar, turned deathly pale. He knew everything was only just beginning. It was the triangle choke, Hwang Hyunjin's signature hell move. It was like a python tightening its coils around its prey, neutralizing all resistance and slowly torturing them to death. And that was exactly what happened. After locking Gisu down, Hwang Hyunjin began his torture, casually landing punch after punch on Gisu's face. While punching, he licked his lips. "How's that? Am I still cute now? Say it. Am I cute?" The pain tore through Gisu's mind. He felt like he was about to die. This fight was entirely different. This wasn't a duel. It was an execution. But then, an unimaginable sight unfolded. Amidst the heavy, thunderous punches, Gisu, through sheer willpower, was slowly standing up. His whole body was still clamped, but he was bracing himself, fighting against the boss's weight. "No, I can't fall here." That thought acted like a stimulant, igniting the hidden strength within him. Hwang Hyunjin was slightly taken aback, but he wasn't flustered. Quick as a flash, he spun around, shifting from a front-facing lock to a rear naked choke. Everything became 10 times worse. Gisu panicked. He had never been taught this move by Jang. The more Gisu struggled, the tighter Hyunjin squeezed. He leaned back, dragging them both down to the ground once again. In this position, he could completely control his prey. The record at Jinsan School was held by someone who had lasted 7 seconds before passing out from this move. He wondered, how long will this kid from Lokman School last? Gisu's consciousness began to fade. He knew if he didn't get out, he would lose consciousness. Come on, don't lose. I won't lose to these bastards ever again. But willpower has its limits. His vision went black, and Gisu passed out. Hwang Hyunjin laughed heartily as he felt Gisu's body go limp. He stood up, grabbed Gisu by the collar, and dragged him away like a sack of potatoes. The other students breathed a sigh of relief. The senior quickly signaled, "Run. If we wait any longer, it'll be too late." But just as Hwang Hyunjin had dragged Gisu a few steps, something strange happened. Gisu's eyes fluttered open. He only regained consciousness for a split second. A painful memory rushed back the fainting game. It was the bully's favorite pastime at his old school. They used to put him in chokes just like this. Back then, he was weak. Helpless, he could only cry and submit. But those very torture sessions had taught him a lesson in survival, a way to escape the clutches of death. His body twitched slightly. His fingers touched something cold and hard on the ground, a stone. Hwang Hyunjin felt something was wrong. He turned back and froze. Gisu had risen. He gritted his teeth, his eyes burning with hatred. In his hand, the stone was gripped like a primal weapon. This punch won't. That strength was the manifestation of all the pain and humiliation he had endured. Hwang Hyunjin's eyes widened, not a single wasted movement. Crack. The stone slammed straight into his face. It shattered into pieces. He fell backward unconscious. Gisu didn't waste a second. He turned on his heels and bolted. All right, he's down. Just reach the back gate and it's over. The gate was only 10 meters away. 5 meters. 3 meters. But then a chill shot down Gisu's spine. He felt a beast even more terrifying than the last one lunging at him from behind. Hwang Hyunjin, with eyes burning like fire and his tongue lolling out like a wild animal, charged at Gisu. He was a leopard that had locked onto its prey, and nothing could stop him. Gisu looked back, his heart pounding. What the hell is this? He took a slab of stone to the head, and he's still running. Damn it, I'm so close. At the very last critical second, a figure dropped from above, shielding Gisu from the crazed beast. It was Jiang. He stood there with the presence of a guardian god, his gaze sharp as a dagger piercing through Hwang Hyunjin. "Stop," he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried an irresistible authority. Both Gisu and Hwang Hyunjin froze. Gisu realized only then that he had instinctively run out of the Jinsan School territory, yet Hwang Hyunjin didn't flinch. He crouched down, the posture of a predator about to pounce. "So it was you. You're the one pulling the strings behind this little brat. Good. I've wanted to test my strength against you for a long time. The era of the 6 gates is over." As the words left his lips, he lunged, but all Gisu saw was a blur. Jiang's fist struck out fast, as lightning slamming straight into Hwang Hyunjin's jaw. A dry, snapping sound echoed. Hwang Hyunjin, the invincible monster, flew backward like a marionette, with cut strings spitting out a mouthful of blood, along with a few broken teeth. He lay motionless. Jiang brushed off his hands, his voice cold. Those Jinsan kids really don't know their place. They need a lesson. He turned to Gisu with a rare, satisfied smile. "You passed this test. Only one final one remains. Meet me on the rooftop tomorrow morning." Those words hit Gisu like an electric jolt. A confidence he had never felt before surged in his chest. But that final test never happened. The next morning, the atmosphere at the 6 Gates School was strangely silent. Amidst the quiet stream of students, only one stood out: Gisu. He walked while throwing punches into the air, every motion decisive and full of energy. He walked straight to Kang In-ha after class. Gisu declared in a steely voice, "Get to the ring, I'm going to take all of you down." Kang In-ha's group went dead silent. Gisu, the prey they once treated like a toy, had officially declared war. The memory of taking down Hwang Hyun-jin had become the foundation for his ironclad confidence. Park Young-ho was the first to snap out of it. He let out a scornful laugh. "This little puking brat wants to hit the ring." He grabbed Gisu's wrist. "What's wrong with your hand? Hurt yourself practicing alone. You need to learn how to defend yourself first, kid." But this time, Gisu forcefully jerked his hand away. Park Young-ho was stunned again. "Answer me!" Gisu roared, his eyes blazing. "You got the guts to fight this afternoon." This action left Park Young-ho unable to stop laughing. Where'd this confidence come from? Interesting. Want to get beaten to a pulp in front of the whole school? He shoved his hands into his pockets and turned to walk away. "Fine. See you this afternoon. Let me show you what real hell in the ring is like." Gisu watched his retreating back, his fists clenched. "This time you'll be the one falling." On the rooftop, Jiang was waiting, staring into the void, looking somewhat impatient. The door suddenly burst open. Heo Gun-hee rushed in, panicked. "Jiang, where were you last night? Sun Siwoo went to the ring with Kang In-ha. Things are getting out of control." Contrary to Gun-hee's panic, Jiang broke into an amused smile. "Sun Siwoo, huh? Interesting. Are you serious? The ring is about to collapse, and that's all you have to say." Jiang calmly looked down at the school courtyard. "If it's just because of something so trivial, then it deserves to collapse and be thrown away. Gun-hee, the ring isn't interesting, because I use force to suppress it, but the opposite, it's like a river that cleanses itself. It changes on its own through its own inner strength. That is its true meaning." In classroom 1 to 3, Park Young-ho was gesturing wildly, retelling the story of Gisu's challenge. It was quite dramatic. That kid was so aggressive, even with his hand bandaged, probably hurt it, practicing somewhere. I'll give him a real beating this afternoon. He was telling the story passionately, but when he looked at Kang In-ha, he saw his friend just sitting there quietly, gaze distant. There wasn't a hint of reaction, as if Kang In-ha's mind was somewhere far away. "Hey In-ha, what's up with you?" Park Young-ho asked, surprised, breaking the silence. "I just told you such a good story. Don't you have any reaction at all?" But Kang In-ha's mind was elsewhere, at a much larger vision. He didn't care about a small fry like Gisu. His target was the entire school. It was to topple the monument named Jiang. This wasn't the time to get tangled up with that kind of small fry. Kang In-ha frowned and replied in a cold voice, "The most important thing is to deal with Jiang." Park Young-ho laughed and patted his chest with confidence. "Don't worry, this time I'll beat that little brat to a cripple, so he never dares to raise his head to challenge any of us ever again. Winning is a given." Kang In-ha cut him off, his eyes sharpening. "But we must win perfectly. We are working to overthrow the arena. If we let an unknown nobody provoke us without crushing him thoroughly, what will others think of us? Don't be careless." In the back of Kang In-ha's mind, the image of a stubborn brat flashed through, a king of endurance with crazy eyes just waiting for a chance to retaliate. He reminded himself, regardless, he's a tough one. You know what to do. Never underestimate your opponent. Under the scorching sun at the school courtyard, the blonde-haired kid shrieked in a panic. "Gisu, are you insane? Why would you challenge him? You've already seen him fight. Even Jin Do-in lost to him. What are you going to do?" But Gisu didn't seem to hear anything. He was lost in his own thoughts at that moment. Did I just run my mouth because I was too angry? Am I even allowed to step into the ring without finishing my final assessment with Senior Jiang? The image of the tall senior and his instructions flashed back to him. "There is one final test. Meet me on the rooftop tomorrow. Cancel the fight." Jin Do-in's voice pulled him back to reality. Even if you've been trained by Jiang, this match is still too dangerous. Park Yong-ho is a total piece of scum. He associates with all kinds of bottom feeders. The outcome is already obvious. Don't get involved. Wait for me to recover, and I'll handle him. But Gisu shook his head, his gaze strangely determined. No. You got hurt protecting me. That scene of you being bullied in the hallway, that has been my daily life. Being looked down upon turned into a laughingstock, nothing more than a clown. I don't want to live like that anymore, and my first opponent has to be Park Yong-ho. No matter how dangerous he is, I'm not afraid. With that, he stood up abruptly and brushed past Jin Do-in. In his eyes burned a flame of determination, a will, as hard as iron, wanting to wash away every bit of humiliation. That night, the six-gate arena was packed. News of the fight spread like a storm. People whispered about Gisu's special training, but no one believed he could make a move against a monster like Park Yong-ho. Wow, I haven't seen the arena this crowded since I enrolled, the blonde kid said to Jin Do-in in amazement. Jin Do-in just smiled. Gisu's last two matches were very impressive. Besides, this is a place for entertainment. It doesn't distinguish between the weak and the strong. In the ring, Park Yong-ho had finished warming up and was losing his patience. Where is that guy? Two henchmen behind him chuckled, probably too scared, and ran away. Classic coward. Park Yong-ho enjoyed hearing that and sneered. If he hides, even better. We can rightfully take care of him without even getting on the ring. Up in the stands, Jiang stood with his arms crossed, his face cold and expressionless. The crowd below began to boo, losing patience. Everyone got scammed, Park Yong-ho shouted, enjoying the attention. Gisu is never going to show up. Tell him to get out of this school. Or maybe he really did run away, the blonde kid asked Jin Do-in anxiously. Just as he finished speaking, a voice rang out from the doorway. Who said I dropped out? I'm just now finding out how fun school can be. Everyone held their breath and turned around. Gisu stood there. Wearing a hooded jacket, he walked in slowly and then gradually pulled his hood down. The entire arena went silent. Park Yong-ho, who had been laughing, stopped dead, then burst into frantic, insane laughter. With tears and snot flying everywhere, he yelled, "Look at that! He shaved his head to show some determination! Ha ha ha!" Mocking laughter erupted everywhere. But high up, Jiang only gave a slight smirk, an interesting change. Gisu stepped onto the ring, calmly took off his jacket, and set it aside. He looked straight at Park Yong-ho, his voice icy cold. Keep laughing all you want, because from now on, you won't have the chance to laugh anymore. Hearing this, Park Yong-ho smirked. Jin Do-in was just as confident as you. Right before I beat him into a pulp. Gisu didn't flinch. He glared back, his voice freezing. Who wins and who loses, just wait and see. The referee's arm went up high and then decisively came down. The match began. Gisu clenched his fists. A vow echoed in his mind. My old self is dead. This time I will win, even if it costs me my life. The image of the thin, terrified student stepping into the ring for the first time had faded into the past. Standing there now was a warrior, with a solid physique and a neatly cut, stylish hairdo. The moment referee Hell Gun He signaled, Gisu lunged forward like an arrow. Park Yong-ho was slightly surprised. He didn't think Gisu would dare to attack first, but the surprise quickly passed, replaced by contempt. Gisu's punches still looked too simple in his eyes. He easily dodged the first punch, then gently crouched and launched an unexpected hook. Decided to attack first, huh? That's good. Park Yong-ho grunted as he struck, but that alone isn't enough to beat me. You dare provoke me. You have to pay. Pow. A thunderous punch slammed straight into Gisu's face. He staggered back, sharp pain spreading through his jaw. Before he could steady himself, Park Yong-ho closed in. You loser, let me show you what a real punching bag feels like. And then a rain of blows poured down Park Yong-ho's fists, with blinding speed and unpredictability, continuously striking Gisu. He couldn't do anything but raise his arms and take the hits. From the very first seconds, Gisu was completely overwhelmed. He knew the guy's technique, far surpassed everyone he had ever faced. But Gisu wouldn't allow himself to fall. "I can't lose. I have to try harder." The flame of will ignited. He braced his feet, let out a roar, and countered, but it was useless. Park Young-ho was too agile. He moved like a ghost, constantly sliding past every one of Gisu's punches with ease. He hadn't even needed to use Muay Thai yet, the weapon that had taken down Jin Do-in. Seeing Gisu attack in vain, Park Young-ho became even more arrogant. He gave a mocking smile. "What kind of move is that, hit me? Use those fists of yours." And then another punch, this one with much greater power. Gisu flew backward and fell flat. The audience below screamed in frustration. "Fight back! Come on, Gisu. What the hell are you doing? Where did that initial spirit go?" In the crowd, Jin Do-in looked anxiously at Jiang. Just as predicted, if he loses, they will become even more lawless. Contrary to Jin Do-in's gloomy expression, Jiang smiled mysteriously. "You're only seeing the surface. Look closer at the fight." Looking into Gisu's eyes, it was exactly as he said. Despite being beaten to a pulp, the fire in Gisu's eyes hadn't faded. It was burning even more fiercely. Seeing his prey still stubborn, Park Young-ho sneered. "Taking hits is fine too. You really are a punching bag." But then the smile on his face suddenly froze. Gisu had lowered his hands. He was no longer defending. He stood straight, tensing his body, and staring right at him. Breathing heavily in Gisu's mind, the fight was only just beginning. Flashback, yesterday afternoon on the rooftop. "I'm sorry," Gisu said to Jiang, gasping for air. "The final training session, I don't think I can participate anymore." He bowed his head, his voice pleading. "You told me not to enter the ring until the training course was finished. But I broke my promise. I accepted Park Young-ho's challenge. I can't stand what he's been doing anymore." Images of Park Young-ho bullying his friends kept flashing in his mind, making his anger boil over. But then Jiang's words made Gisu snap his head up. "Then the training plan has to change a little." With those words, Jiang lunged forward like a tiger. Gisu hadn't even processed what was happening, before Jiang was right in front of him, his eyes blazing with a wild fire. "This will be your graduation exam. A crash course." Jiang growled each word like a hammer blow. Jiang held nothing back. He swarmed Gisu like a storm. A surprise punch sent Gisu flying, even though he was in his stance. Slamming hard against the wall, a sharp pain spread through his body. Gisu gritted his teeth, frustrated. What the hell, is he crazy? Trying to block attacks like that? Dream on Jiang's voice was ice cold. "If you don't want to be beaten to death, then fight seriously." Those words were like a bucket of ice water splashed onto Gisu's face. He forced himself up, anger and willpower igniting. He lunged forward, throwing a flurry of punches. They were fast, very fast, but in Jiang's eyes, they were still just the clumsy movements of a child. He dodged easily. "Too slow," Jiang roared between Gisu's attacks. "With these pathetic punches, who do you think you're going to beat?" "I know that," Gisu screamed in silence. "I've only been training for a few sessions, but I have to win, I will win," he shouted, pouring all his strength into one final punch, and it landed. A punch grazed Jiang's cheek. Gisu was stunned. Jiang licked his lips, a wild smile appearing. "Want to beat me? All right, then stop dodging, come straight at me." Back in the present at the Luck Gate Arena to the audience, Gisu looked like a madman. He blindly lunged at Park Young-ho, throwing aimless punches, abandoning all defense. Below the stands, Jin Do-in frowned, worried. What the hell is he doing? Is he at a dead end, trying a desperate move? Just charging in without defending, he's just going to become a punching bag. Is all that training going to waste? On the stage, Park Young-ho was slightly surprised at first, but it quickly turned into amusement. He dodged Gisu's punches as easily as if he were playing with a small animal. "What's this? Trying too hard. Come on, keep coming. But if you think throwing your life away will beat me, you're dead wrong." He threw a lethal uppercut, forcing Gisu to stagger, but he didn't fall. He was a king of endurance. His body was already used to pain even worse than this. Taking advantage of the moment Park Yong-ho was exposed after throwing his strike, Gisu lunged in, using his entire body to grab onto him. Park Yong-ho was stunned. He tried to push Gisu away, but Gisu clung to him like a starving leech. A one-sided boring fight. That guy is just a punching bag. He's about to collapse. The murmurs from the stands rose. Park Yong-ho felt humiliated, grabbed Gisu's hair, and growled, kneeing him in the face. If you're going to lose, lose with some dignity. It's useless no matter how much you struggle. Die. But in the rain of blows, Gisu remained persistent. This was the plan, this was the lesson that Jiang had taught him with his own blood and bone. The past flooded back. Jiang had grabbed Gisu's head, forcing him down. Listen closely. Whether you grab the body or the neck, the first goal, after closing in, is to lock down your opponent's movement. That's when you have the advantage. A moving target is hard to hit, but a stationary target is a different story. Right now, Gisu was doing exactly that. He endured the knee strikes and the elbow shots, but his arms tightened further, turning Park Yong-ho's body into a cage of his own making. The past appeared again. Gisu had tried to struggle, but it was useless against Jiang's strength. First, make your opponent panic. Jiang's voice sounded deep and steely. Don't put all your energy into the first punch. When the opponent loses their cool, that is your opportunity. And now, in the ring, Gisu was turning that lesson into reality. His lunging to grab Park Yong-ho wasn't an act of madness. It was a tactic. Just as predicted, he panicked, pushing him away and revealing a fatal opening. Immediately, Gisu threw a quick, clean uppercut, pinning it straight into Park Yong-ho's ribcage. He understood what Jiang meant. You have to make the opponent unable to predict your next move. Hit with pain, Park Yong-ho countered furiously, but at this close range, every time he hit Gisu, he would also take a full counterattack. The fight suddenly turned into a test of endurance, a war to see who could take a hit better. After a while of trading brutal blows, Park Yong-ho gritted his teeth. This brat is more annoying than I thought. That exact moment of distraction was captured by Gisu. He threw another punch, but this time the power was many times stronger. The audience below screamed in excitement. Jin Do-in's jaw dropped. He couldn't believe his eyes. He closed in so he could land a precise blow. Park Yong-ho retreated in pain, swearing, "You bastard, fine." Facing him, Gisu was also gasping for air, sweat pouring off him like rain, but looking at the enemy, who was now having to defend cautiously. He knew he had succeeded. Only by closing the distance could he land a hit. Now that his opponent was on guard after a quick calculation, Gisu suddenly lunged forward. He threw a straight punch right at Park Yong-ho's face. Park, feeling cocky, dodged it. "Aiming for my face, are you? Too easy. If you can't get close, how are you going to hit me?" he sneered. Up in the stands, Jiang stood with arms crossed, silently recalling his final piece of advice. The training ends here. Once you're in the ring, fight your own way. Real combat is full of variables. Studying is one thing, but actual fighting is a whole different story. Hang in there until the end. Don't give up. Gisu's previous punch had just been a feint. While Park Yong-ho was basking in his triumph, Gisu's hand had snaked behind his neck. Suddenly, Gisu gripped his head tightly, perfectly recreating the technique Jiang had taught him. Park Yong-ho was completely controlled. Now is my chance, if I just hold on. With this strategy, by the time Park Yong-ho realized Gisu's intent, it was already too late. He glanced back in a panic at the hand clamped tight behind his neck. That punch, it was just a setup. Gisu glared at him. His voice was cold as ice, echoing amidst the roar of the arena. "You didn't see this one coming, did you? Die, you bastard." With that, he poured all his strength into it. He unleashed a devastating, bone-crushing punch right into Park Yong-ho's face. A sickening, sharp thud echoed through the arena. Park Yong-ho was sent flying backward, helpless, crashing onto the ring floor. The entire auditorium went deathly silent for a split second before erupting in pure astonishment. Everyone stood there, jaws dropped wide open, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. Gisu stood there. His hands were still clenched, his chest heaving, his eyes burning with intensity as he looked at his fallen opponent. Park Yong-ho, in agony, gritted his teeth and muttered, "You little brat. You've got guts." "I'm just getting started," Gisu roared back, a surge of overwhelming energy. "Let's go all the way, you piece of trash." The audience's shock quickly turned into a frenzy. The whole arena felt like it was exploding. "Gisu, you're the best." "That's it, kid, nice one." That was satisfying. The chants of "Gisu Gisu" rang out like thunder, drowning out everything else. Park Yong-ho scrambled to get up, his ears ringing from the cheers for his enemy. He was fuming, his chest boiling with hatred. "No way! Don't celebrate yet! That was just a fluke. What's so great about a lucky punch?" With that, Park Yong-ho roared like a wounded animal and lunged at Gisu. But this time, Gisu was waiting. As soon as Park Yong-ho entered his striking range, a lightning-fast uppercut from Gisu landed square on his jaw, immediately followed by a bone-rattling straight punch. Park Yong-ho staggered. The world spun before his eyes. Gisu didn't give him a second to breathe. He dove in, turning his opponent into a human punching bag. A relentless barrage of hooks and straights rained down like a storm. Under the stands, Jin Do-in clenched his fists, his eyes gleaming. "Not bad. I didn't expect him to pull off such a spectacular comeback." Zhang stood beside him with a calm expression, nodding. At this level, stamina and spirit are the keys. A surprise attack can completely shatter an opponent's composure. Gisu had seized the initiative, but Jin Do-in suddenly noticed something strange. "I don't know why, but Park Yong-ho looks different today. He seems anxious." Indeed, Park Yong-ho was glancing toward the stands where Kang In-ha stood, with his arms crossed, his face cold as stone. That look was exactly like the time he had been defeated by Jin Do-in. Kang In-ha's warning before the match echoed in his head. "You must win decisively. You are not allowed to be careless." That thought acted like a stimulant. Park Yong-ho let out a primal roar, making Gisu freeze in surprise. "Enough of this humiliation, you won't push me around anymore." And then he shifted into his stance, the Muay Thai stance, the very style that had destroyed Jin Do-in. Gisu realized the danger immediately. "No, there's no time left. I have to end this match right now." He lunged, deciding to bet everything on one move. But that was exactly the trap Park Yong-ho had set. As soon as Gisu hit the perfect distance, a kick, like a falling mountain, slammed into his ribs. Thud. Gisu was sent flying backward. A piercing pain made him nearly lose consciousness. What is this?" Before he could even recover, another kick slammed into his stomach. Gisu doubled over his mouth, able to emit only pathetic gasping cries. The nightmare of Jin Do-in was repeating itself. Relentless, brutal kicks rained down on Gisu's body like hammer blows. Park Yong-ho had completely turned into a beast. He yelled, his voice dripping with savagery. "If you're weak, you should know your place. Do you really think a shrimp like you can act tough in front of me?" Despite the pain, Gisu's mind was working at full capacity. He analyzed every strike. Each kick was heavy, leaving no openings. "I have to find a way." Jin Do-in's advice suddenly rang out. "Be careful. He did something to his legs. That's not a normal kick. You have to find a way to deal with it." Now Gisu understood. This feeling, it didn't feel like being kicked. It felt like being smashed by an iron bar. Park Yong-ho got into position for the finisher. "That's right, that look of fear suits you, you little punk. Now get down on your knees and beg for mercy." Another kick flew out. Gisu couldn't react in time. He was sent flying again. Watching his prey writhing on the floor, Park Yong-ho's eyes ignited with a crazed fire. It was an expression Gisu would never forget, that sick, twisted pleasure in other people's pain. The bastards at his old school had the exact same look, and that was what pushed Gisu past his breaking point. He struggled to his feet, a roar erupting from the depths of his chest. Just because you're the same as them. I absolutely cannot fall here. Seeing Gisu stand up, Park Young-ho threw another kick, but this time instead of flying away, Gisu did something nobody could have expected. He turned his body and used his butt to block the hit. Whack! The stands went dead silent. Jin Do-in and the others had their jaws dropped in shock. Only Gisu would come up with such a bizarre move. He gritted his teeth, enduring the pain. A thought flashed through his mind. Go ahead, attack me. Thanks to all the beatings in the past, I know exactly which parts of this body hurt the least now. The experience of a bullied victim had now become his weapon. Park Young-ho burst out laughing, a sneering, arrogant laugh. Heh heh, are you kidding me? Using your butt to block. You think a circus act like that can stop me? He lunged, throwing a powerful kick, but Gisu, with an impossibly slick move, pivoted and used exactly that, his butt to absorb the strike. A dry thud rang out. The kick was neutralized. Frustration flared in Park Young-ho's chest. He frantically unleashed a barrage of kicks, but Gisu was like an eel twisting and turning, using his one-of-a-kind defensive part to neutralize everything. The stands exploded in laughter. He's blocking with his butt. Ha ha ha, that's so annoying. This new kid really has some tricks up his sleeve. Gisu, what's that move called? Teach me. Even Jin Do-in couldn't help but laugh. Huh, this kid's actually got some brains, doesn't he? It might look funny, but the glutes are where the most fat and muscle are stored. It might be his only way to defend himself right now. After a tiring flurry of kicks, Park Young-ho started gasping for air. He realized those low kicks were completely useless, so he decided to aim for the head. Thinking it, he launched a vicious high kick. He roared, "Let's see how you block this." But Gisu just ducked the kick, whistling right over his head. It was a hair's breadth away. Gisu saw it coming clearly. He knew he had just enough time to dodge. Up in the stands, Jin Do-in's eyes widened. He slowed down, and memories of his own fight against Park Young-ho came flooding back. That's right. His kicks are powerful, but he rarely... The greater the power, the higher the price, huh? Back in the ring, Park Young-ho started struggling. Every kick he threw was a beat slower than the last, just enough for Gisu to dodge. After one missed kick, Park Young-ho stumbled and stopped right in front of Gisu. Distracted by something strange on his legs, Gisu left an opening. Bop. A straight punch to the face sent him reeling. Park Young-ho laughed maliciously. Still stubborn, huh? But it's the end of the line, you mutt. He swung his leg back, preparing the finishing blow. No matter how tough you think you are, you can't tank this one. Let me show you what happens when you mess with me. Just as his foot was about to land, a calm voice sounded from below. Hey, Young-ho. Park Young-ho jumped. Your kick is way too slow. Gisu's hand was already there, gripping Park Young-ho's ankle like a steel vice. In a split second, the tables turned. Park Young-ho panicked. With brute force, Gisu slammed him down onto the floor. Damn it, what the hell is this? Park Young-ho screamed in silence. Gisu stared at his ankle. It felt like a lead pipe hitting his leg, his speed dropping and something shiny. Without a second's hesitation, Gisu grabbed the leg of Park Young-ho's pants and tore them open. A gasp of shock echoed throughout the arena. Wrapped tightly around Park Young-ho's ankle was a heavy iron shackle. The truth was laid bare, the dirty cheating. So that's how he beat Jin Do-in. Gisu gritted his teeth, fury burning within. No wonder you lose your stamina so fast. Anything else to say for yourself now? That question was a spark in a powder keg. The whole arena erupted. Boos and jeers rained down on Park Young-ho. High up, Gun-hai looked at Jiang, face pale. What do we do? Stop the match. Jiang just wore an amused smirk. Wait, it's getting to the good part. He glanced down at the ring. Gisu was unleashing his rage on Park Young-ho, punching, and punching, but Park Young-ho wouldn't surrender. Gisu froze. This crazy bastard, how is he still standing? Then he looked into his eyes. It was a look of pure fear, of utter helplessness, a look Gisu had seen thousands of times in the mirror. It was who he used to be, but the him from back then was dead. Strength, willpower, grit, he had it all. Now was the time to show everyone the rebirth of Lee Gisu. He raised his fist one last time. All the injustice, the humiliation, the pain he had suffered, all of it was compressed into a single point. He let out a roar that tore through the air. No, it wasn't just a roar of anger. It was a roar of liberation. Thud. A punishing punch, a punch that shook the entire arena. He collapsed unconscious. The match was over. Stop the match! The referee's voice rang out clearly. The winner is Lee Gisu. At that moment, the arena seemed to explode. Gisu let out a sigh of relief, his legs trembling. He had done it with his own fists, with perseverance and courage. He had taken down Park Young-ho. The sweet feeling of victory spread through his body. I actually did it. The chants of Gisu Gisu rang out like a victory anthem, honoring the arena's new hero. On the floor, Park Young-ho lay on his back, his lifeless eyes staring at the ceiling. He was completely drained, his mind empty. No way! I lost as to a brat like him. He turned his head and saw the back of Kang In-ha walking away coldly. Hey In-ha, wait! He wheezed. It's not over yet. Don't leave me behind. Kang. In-ha just glanced back, spitting out words sharp as a blade. Useless trash. Then he turned his back and walked away, leaving Park Young-ho to drown in shame. The spectators up above, who had just been cheering for him, now unleashed their fury. Soda cans, trash, and bitter insults were hurled down without mercy. He lay there, helpless, humiliated, unable to speak a word. Just then, a shadow blocked the lights. It was Gisu. He walked over slowly and held out his hand. Park Young-ho looked up shocked. Get up, Gisu said, his voice calm. You cheated and still lost. I should have beaten you to a pulp, but rules are rules. Next time we'll settle this fairly. Park Young-ho was stunned. He had treated Gisu like trash, yet here and now, he was offering him a way out, an honorable rematch. The referee Heo Han-hee laughed with interest. Hey, this new student is more interesting than I thought. A handshake, huh? High up, Jiang also wore a proud smile. Now he looks like a student of the Rock Moon School. Maybe he can do even more than I expected. But just as Gisu tried to pull Park Young-ho up, an arrogant, mocking voice cut through the air. Is the Rock Moon School really this pathetic now? A childish fight like this? And people are actually watching it. The entire arena went dead silent. A stranger stepped out from the shadows, grabbed Park Young-ho's hair, and yanked his head back. You can't even take down a little brat, and you want to call yourself a representative of Rock Moon? How do you plan on facing the big brothers now, huh? It's Son Se-vu. He's been watching everything from the shadows. Who is this guy, Gisu wondered. Just then, Jiang stepped onto the ring with an overwhelming aura. Son Se-vu, what are you planning? Son Se-vu let go of Park Young-ho and turned to face Jiang, his smile twisted with hatred. Long time no see, traitor. Look at this pathetic ring of yours. I can't take it anymore. From now on, I'm the one who rules the 6 gates. Jiang just scoffed. I thought you were hiding in some rat hole somewhere. This is interesting. Fine, let me show you what a real fight looks like. As he spoke, Jiang dropped his guard and took a fighting stance. The battle everyone had been waiting for, the fight to decide the true king, was about to begin. They both stripped off their coats, revealing bodies covered in combat scars. Their eyes locked, burning with killing intent. I can't believe we're seeing this before graduation. Someone in the crowd gasped. Gisu turned to Jin Do-in, confused. Jin Do-in, who is Son Se-vu? Before the match started, Jin Do-in replied with a grave expression. He's the one who once vied for the title of the strongest in the 6 gates against Senior Jiang. Gisu was horrified. He competed with big brother Jiang. In the ring, Son Se-vu began to warm up. His muscles bulged like a monster's. You had to struggle so hard just to climb up to that position. Only to create this piece of junk, he roared and lunged forward like a rabid bear. Boom! A thunderous sound echoed through the arena. The floor shook violently, and the spectators nearby scrambled back in fear. What kind of terrifying power is this? The floor is about to collapse, but in the eye of that storm, Jiang remained firm. He nimbly dodged the destructive blow. The two beasts' eyes locked once again, promising a fight to the death with no mercy. Just then, Sun Seivu flashed a sinister smile, transforming into a killing machine. He unleashed a storm of punches and kicks aimed straight at Jiang, but Jiang retained the poise of a master, moving like a phantom, fluidly dodging every strike. Sun Seivu's speed was incredible. Every punch and kick carried enough power to cause destruction. Standing below, Gisu was stunned, muttering like an amateur commentator, "No way! With that massive build, how can he move so nimbly?" Jin Doin, standing beside him, looked worried. Senior Jiang is amazing for dodging all of that, but what if he loses? What will happen? Gisu turned to Jin Doin. Looking up at the ring, his voice dropped. Then the arena will vanish, and the 6 gates will return to chaos. Sun Seivu is the embodiment of Kang Han-hee Gisu. The name Kang Han-hee left Gisu bewildered. On the stage, Sun Seivu had fully turned beast mode. After a series of missed attacks, his eyes blazed with a destructive fire. "You little brat, you only know how to dodge. Forget about your past victories. The me of now is completely different." He roared, charging like a bulldozer, unleashing an unparalleled strike, a series of mystical martial arts moves aimed straight at Jiang. Jiang leaned back to dodge, but his opponent's speed was too much. A streak of blood flew out. Jiang had been hit. Sun Seivu roared in triumph. He had finally landed a hit on his opponent. His excitement pushed him to the limit. He rushed in like a madman, raining down a storm of blows. Jiang struggled to defend. Sun Seivu's punches were as heavy as sledgehammers. Blood began to trickle from the corner of his mouth, and then, thud. A direct punch to the gut sent Jiang flying toward the arena ropes. "Calling yourself the boss? Turns out you're just a joke," Sun Seivu yelled. "If I knew it was this easy, I would have finished you a long time ago." Down below, Gisu screamed in a panic. "No way! How could Senior Jiang be defeated by a monster like that?" Jin Doin's face also went pale. Sun Seivu is stronger, and Jiang has better technique, but right now Sun Seivu is completely overwhelming him. Could it be that he's been training in secret? In the ring, Jiang collapsed. He went down. Sun Seivu stood over his motionless opponent, a smug smile on his face. "My body is different now. The things they gave me really were effective." An image of 5 dark silhouettes flickered through his mind. Sun Seivu raised his foot. "Now you're no better than me. Die, traitor!" But at that exact moment, Jiang's eyes suddenly changed. Sun Seivu's kick came crashing down, and a terrifying sound echoed. The crowd gasped. They weren't shocked because Jiang was defeated. They were shocked because not only was he not down, but he also threw a counterpunch. A punch with all his strength slammed straight into Sun Seivu's face. Wham! Sun Seivu was sent flying like a broken puppet, crashing into the ropes on the opposite side. Before he could even stand, Jiang had darted over like a bolt of lightning. "You're wasting my time. Let's finish this." Jiang unleashed a flurry of strikes, showcasing the true level of the 6 Gates ruler. That terrifying power made Sun Seivu unable to believe his eyes. He had never seen a Jiang like this. Jiang's eyes were blazing. He delivered another punch to Sun Seivu's gut, a blow from the king of the beasts, asserting that his status wasn't just a matter of luck. Sun Seivu doubled over in pain, and then the final blow was launched. The finishing move. Sun Seivu was blasted clean out of the ring, falling freely to the ground, to the total astonishment of every student at the 6 Gates. For the first time, Gisu witnessed the legendary power of Jiang with his own eyes. The cheater had been punished by the one who created the rules. Jiang stood in the ring, looking down at the crowd, his voice ringing out firmly. Park Yong-ho, get up here. Park Yong-ho turned pale and trembled. He stepped onto the ring and knelt before the president. In Jiang's hand, a steel club had appeared out of nowhere. Park Yong-ho looked at the club and swallowed hard. Is he going to hit me with that? If I get hit by a monster like him, how could I possibly survive? I've already been beaten half to death. If I take another one. Park Yong-ho, who had been as arrogant as a king moments ago, was now nothing but a pathetic pile of rags. He crawled on the arena floor, tears and snot streaming down his face, trying to grab Jiang's leg. Senior, please forgive me, I was forced into this. I'm just a victim too. I swear I'll never do it again. Jiang just looked down coldly. Lie down. His voice didn't carry a hint of emotion. That was more terrifying than any threat. Park Yong-ho shook uncontrollably, but his fear of death outweighed his humiliation. He continued to beg, pathetic words pouring out endlessly. Jiang suddenly knelt down face to face with Park Yong-ho. His eyes blazed with a terrifying fire. I said lie down right now. All of Park Yong-ho's hope vanished. Knowing his life was over, he trembled and lay flat on the floor, waiting for his punishment. Jiang raised the wooden club high, swinging it back to build momentum. If you don't want to get beaten, he said, his voice sharp, then never do things that end up with you lying here like this. Park Yong-ho squeezed his eyes shut and bit his lip hard, but the blow he expected never came. The club stopped just as it barely grazed his backside, but the invisible pressure from it was enough to make him scared out of his wits. A pale yellow stream of warm liquid leaked from his pants, forming a small puddle on the arena floor. The entire arena erupted once again, but this time it was the sound of mocking laughter. A legendary pisser had been born. Jiang stood up and looked down at the wretch trembling at his feet. Don't you feel ashamed of this arena? I'll let you go this time. There won't be a second time. He turned to face everyone, stomped his foot hard on the floor, and used all his inner strength to let out a roar that shook the entire space. Listen up, everyone. Today you've seen that the arena is a place to fight with real strength. A fair fight. There's no room for cheating here. Anyone who picks a fight outside of this place, that person has violated the rules of the 6 gates. And as long as I am here, that person will not survive. Remember this. This is a place for true warriors, those who deserve respect. I, Jiang, am the manager of this place. Jiang's resounding declaration was met with cheers. That echoed loudly. Order was restored. The next day on the rooftop, the sound of thud-thud rang out rhythmically. Jiang was delivering powerful punches into a sandbag. Gisu walked out stunned. After everything that happened yesterday, is he still training? What are you doing here? Jiang's voice cut through Gisu's thoughts. I have nothing left to teach you. If you're here to ask for training, then go back. It's not that, Gisu gathered all his courage. I have something to ask. Why did you help me so much? I'm the first person you've mentored. Jiang stopped and turned to approach Gisu. He wanted to show everyone that with relentless effort, anyone can rise up. You've worked really hard, Gisu. He placed a hand on Gisu's shoulder, a rare affectionate look directed straight at him. Gisu felt it, the trust, the expectations. He bowed his head, the most sincere thank you, escaping from deep within his chest. Even though he didn't fully understand the profound meaning behind Jiang's words, he knew that this man was the mentor who had changed his life. Returning to the arena, the atmosphere was completely different. The excitement and intensity had returned, but without the chaos or bullying. Matches took place fiercely, but fairly. The fire of true combat had been rekindled, burning stronger than ever, spreading throughout the 6 Gates school. The 6 Gates arena had become a part of Gisu's daily life. New battles broke out, and Gisu was no longer someone standing on the sidelines. He stepped onto the mat not with fear, but with a blazing fire of determination. Every punch he threw contained not just strength, but the sweat and the effort of days of grueling training. He fought relentlessly, seizing every opportunity, taking advantage of every mistake by his opponents, and victory called his name once again. The audience roared wildly. Since that historic battle with Park Young-ho, Jisoo had become an icon, a symbol of hope. Every one of his matches attracted a crowd, cheering and supporting him. At this moment, there was no doubt Lee Jisoo truly belonged to the Six Gates Arena. Meanwhile, at a heavily guarded prison near the city center, Kang In-ha sat waiting. On the other side of the glass, a figure appeared. "Long time no see," the older brother said, his voice calm. Kang In-ha stood up abruptly. "You said you'd bring me good news next time. That bastard Jiang, even senior Sun Se-vu couldn't take him down." The older brother just chuckled, a smile that was hard to read. "That brat Jiang, huh? It seems things have gone a bit too far this time. The master is away. The little mice are acting up again, aren't they?" Seeing his brother's calm smile and tone, Kang In-ha said, "Stay calm, don't worry. I'll find a way. If I can't do it inside the school, I'll do it from the outside." "In-ha," the older brother said, his voice dropping as he interrupted. "Once you're bound by chains, it's hard to escape. Don't do anything foolish. Just behave according to your status. Dad has already intervened. In a few months you'll be out." Hearing this, the rock in Kang In-ha's heart felt like it had been lifted. "Don't do anything that affects the family," the older brother continued. "Just observe quietly and wait for the opportunity. When you get out, everything will be resolved." "I understand," Kang In-ha replied, but his hand clenched into a fist under the table, betraying the seething resentment within him. Back to school life, Jisoo, Jin Do-in and the blonde guy were gathered together. The blonde guy, with an expression of unprecedented seriousness, told them about a major event his crush had invited him to hang out with her group of friends. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity," he announced solemnly, "and I need the two of you to come along so I'm not the odd one out." Jisoo was puzzled. Meet girls, I've never done that before." Jin Do-in raised his hand. "Sorry, I have plans that day." The blonde guy almost cried, shoving his phone screen in front of them both. "Look, Ji-hai asked me out herself. This definitely means she's interested. You guys have to help me." "Maybe you're just delusional," Jisoo blurted out. After some back and forth and the promise of a big treat from the blonde guy, Jin Do-in finally relented. On the day of the date at a fancy cafe, the blonde guy looked like he was about to die. "Damn it, why am I so nervous?" he muttered, finishing his third glass of water. "Calm down, you're about to drink the whole menu," Jin Do-in teased. Jisoo thought to himself, first time seeing him lose his cool like this. Don't know who the target is that's so intimidating. Suddenly, the cafe door opened, and a beautiful girl with golden hair walked in. Jisoo held his breath. Could it be that girl? He glanced over and saw his friend waving, but no. It wasn't the blonde girl, but the girl with the healthy tan skin walking behind her. And it wasn't just two of them. It was all three girls. The blonde guy's crush was the girl with the tan skin walking in the middle. "We're sorry we're late." "It's all right, no worries." "It's just great that you guys made it. Everyone meet Jisoo and Jin, Do-in, my best friends." Jisoo finally snapped back to reality, awkwardly, took a sip of his drink, and looked at her. She seemed really warm and cheerful. Just then, the pretty blonde girl from earlier, stepped in front of Jisoo with a radiant smile. "Hi there, I'm Jiyoung-mi, nice to meet you." In that moment, Jisoo felt that his decision to tag along with his friend was absolutely the right one. His face turned beet red. The initial meeting, which started off a bit awkward, quickly became more open, as laughter and friendly questions filled the air. The blonde guy was over the moon, his eyes crinkling with a smile whenever his crush paid attention to him. The date seemed to be going incredibly well, until suddenly Jin Do-in turned and threw a jab that left the blonde guy frozen, completely speechless. Amidst the lively conversation, Jisoo felt like a ghost. He couldn't find a single opening to chime in. Just then, Jiyoung-mi, the girl with the sunny smile, suddenly turned her gaze toward him. "Hey Jisoo," she said, her voice clear as a bell. "Are you not into talking?" She accompanied the question with a deadly cute expression. Jisoo was startled, his face flushing crimson, and he hurriedly waved his hands. "Ah, no. That's not it at all." he stammered while internally screaming, "Oh my god, she talked to me first." Jiang Mi playfully winked. "Actually, I'm not really a fan of noisy crowds either, but everyone else is so excited I couldn't really get a word in either." She sighed softly. "Whenever there's a big group like this, I usually have a hard time fitting in." "Oh, me too," Jisoo blurted out. "Everyone's having so much fun talking though." "So, you're the type to just sit and listen too," Jiang Mi giggled. "I'm a little shy too." It was like finding someone on the same frequency. Jisoo nodded frantically. In his eyes, Jiang Mi's smile was even more dazzling than the sun right now. His heart felt like it was about to jump out of his chest. "We really are alike, aren't we?" she said happily. "It's so great to meet you." I feel the same." Just then, Jin Do-in riding the high suggested, "Let's go to karaoke. There's a great place nearby." The suggestion was immediately met with enthusiastic cheers, only Gisu's face went pale. This was the nth time he'd been dragged out to be tortured by music. Outside the karaoke bar, the blonde guy's crush turned and asked, "Hey Jin, Do-in, can you sing well?" Another girl chimed in. "Come on, just go in and show us, we'll find out soon enough." All attention was fixed on Jin Do-in. The blonde guy felt like he'd been cast aside. Clearly this was supposed to be his date, but Jin Do-in was the main character. He couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed Jin Do-in by the shoulder. "You guys go on ahead. We'll be out for a second. I need to use the restroom." "No need to go anymore, right?" Jin Do-in replied naively. The blonde guy gritted his teeth. "Hey, what is wrong with you? You've hogged all the spotlight today." "Well, she asked, so I just answered. But you keep cutting in, I haven't had a chance to show anything." "I was just trying to help you, man. But I wanted her to talk to me." "All right, fine. Once we're inside, I'll give you the whole stage. I'm so annoyed. It felt like they had to step into the arena to settle this." Hearing the two of them bickering, Jisoo's head started to throb. He shouted, "Knock it off, you two. Get inside. They're waiting." With that, Jisoo slipped inside, ignoring his two comrades bickering at the door. Discretion is the better part of valor, he thought to himself. He glanced back at them and smiled. Actually, it was good to be direct and not keep things bottled up. I just can't bring myself to do that. The image of Jiang Mi appeared in his mind again. Her soft hair, her shy smile, and those clear eyes had completely stolen his heart. I want to get closer to her, but how even her name sounds beautiful to me. Oh man, what on earth am I thinking? Lost in his random thoughts, Jisoo was suddenly startled by a shout ahead. A tattooed guy was blocking the path of Jiang Mi and her two friends. "Hey, don't be so stuck up. If you're out alone, come hang out with us. We've got 2 more buddies inside, enough for all of you." "What are you doing to my friend Jisoo?" Suddenly spoke up his voice full of frustration. The guy and the 3 girls all turned around in surprise. The guy looked Jisoo up and down, then smirked. "Your friend, there's nothing special about this kid, why hang out with a guy like this? Come with us instead, we're all real quality people." The guy's hand tightened around Jiang Mi's wrist. The more she struggled, the more he pushed. Seeing her get harassed, Jisoo's blood boiled. He lunged forward, but before he could even throw a punch, Jiang Mi had already acted. She suddenly lowered her center of gravity, planting one foot firmly, and to the tattooed guy's shock, used a masterfully executed takedown technique, lifting him into the air and slamming him hard to the ground. Crash. The guy lay sprawled out, unable to comprehend what had just happened. He only had time to see the fire in Jiang Mi's eyes and hear her cold voice. "If you can't reason with them, you have to use your fists." Jisoo stood frozen, his jaw dropped, eyes wide, staring at the unbelievable scene. Ji-hai, the girl with tan skin, just put her hand to her forehead and sighed. What a pain. He really asked for it. What is going on? Jisoo stammered, his face turning pale. Jisoo, right? Ji-hai turned back, trying to reassure him. Don't be too surprised. Jiang Mi might look like that, but she's actually really gentle. Gentle. Jisoo wasn't so sure about that. Across the way, the tattooed guy was frantically throwing punches to save face, but they were all hitting thin air. Jiang Mi moved as gracefully as a dancer. She dodged every attack with ease. Every movement of hers was sharp, not a single one wasted. It was clear she had been trained since childhood by a master. The outcome was sealed. Jiang Mi ended the fight with a perfect hook kick to the jaw. The tattooed guy flew backward, crashing to the floor. "I think," Ji Hai blurted out, "Jiang Mi also goes to your school, the Six Gates School, right?" Gisu was stunned. "My school." "Yeah, her brother's name sounds similar, too pretty unique." A lightning bolt struck Gisu's mind. The surname, Jiang. It was so familiar. When she said the name, Ji Hai immediately confirmed it. It turned out this unbelievably strong girl was none other than Jiang Mi, a first-year student at Jinhuang High, 17 years old, and the biological sister of the student council president Jiang. "I told you to let go. Why won't you let go?" The other two surrounded Jiang Mi with fierce expressions. "You're dead meat today." The blonde guy swung his fist, intending to teach her a lesson, but before his fist could even land, another fist shot out like a bullet, slamming straight into his face. Wham! A dry, crisp sound echoed. He went flying backward, his mouth twisted, leaving his accomplice and even Jiang Mi in absolute shock. The one who struck was none other than Gisu, a knight in shining armor, save if there ever was one. Jiang Mi was stunned. The power in the punch of this new friend was truly terrifying, but the most surprised person was Ji Hai. She covered her mouth with her hand, unable to believe her eyes. Gisu grabbed the blonde guy by the collar and roared, "You bastards!" Ji Hai couldn't believe he would actually act like that. She whispered to Jiang Mi, "So this is what students from the Luke Mon school are like. They really are different." After scaring the thugs out of their wits, Gisu quickly turned to check on Jiang Mi. Seeing she was okay, he breathed a sigh of relief. The thugs scrambled to get up and ran for their lives. Just then, Jin Du-in and the blonde guy hurried over. "Why did you take so long?" Ji Hai snapped. "Some hoodlums were trying to pick a fight with us. Good thing Gisu was there." In a dark alley, 3 thugs were rubbing their bruises. "Those bastards are from Luke Mon, aren't they?" "Yeah, they're really strong, but the stronger they are, the more our boss likes it. They'll have to pay this time." The group walked together along the bustling street. Ji Hai seemed closer to Jin Do-in, which left the blonde guy sulking behind them. The atmosphere between Gisu and Jiang Mi became more open. "That punch of yours earlier was really strong." Jiang Mi praised him with sparkling eyes. Gisu's heart felt like it wanted to jump out of his chest. He felt shy. Jiang Mi's smile under the streetlights was truly radiant. "Today really is a wonderful day. I never expected Senior Jiang to have such a cute younger sister." "You must practice really hard, right?" Jiang Mi asked. "You too," Gisu replied. "My brother forces me to study martial arts just for self-defense. He's always worrying too much, but thanks to that, I was able to handle those thugs. I've also learned a lot from your brother." "You're also my brother's disciple." "That's right. I had some trouble when I transferred here. It's lucky I had your senior's guidance." Hearing this, Jiang Mi suddenly let out a cry, her eyes wide. So you're that transfer student. I never thought I'd meet you here." Gisu was flustered. "So, did your brother tell you about me?" Oh no, he suddenly remembered Jiang's last words before they parted. "I want to show my little sister that with constant effort, anyone can become strong." So from the very beginning, he had been part of his plan all along. So at that time, the senior meant for Jiang Mi to hear it on purpose. A wave of panic ran down Gisu's spine. Damn it, he told her everything. All those pathetic failures, his weakest moments, she knew about all of them. Oh no, oh no. A sense of shame and humiliation washed over him. He was afraid that the good image he had just started to build in Jiang Mi's eyes had vanished into thin air. But then Jiang Mi smiled and held out her phone. "When I heard Brother Jiang talking about it, I really didn't think that person was you. The fact that we met like this, isn't it a miracle? Let's keep in touch from now on." That offer felt like an electric current running through Gisu. His face turned bright red, he was speechless, and his brain seemed to stop working for 5 seconds. That moment was just too amazing. He tremblingly took the phone, his dazed face unable to hide his joy. This really was the luckiest day of his life. At an unfinished construction site under dim lights, a brutal scene was unfolding. A gang of youths was surrounding and beating a man. "Please, please, spare me!" The man groaned through his hood. The blonde leader growled, his tone full of irritability. "I already told you, if you want to live, cough up the money. I really don't have any money, but I promise I'll pay you back." The blonde guy ripped the hood off. "So, it's you. Are you ready to do anything? Fine. You used to be a track athlete, right? Run for me and see." Despite the victim's pleas, the blonde's gaze didn't waver. Debts must be paid with both principal and interest. Just then, the 3 underlings that Gisu and Jiangmi had taught a lesson at the karaoke bar returned. Bossa Girl and a bunch of people from Luke Mon picked a fight with our Baeksan gang. They deserved to be punished. Before he could finish, the blonde guy used 2 fingers to clamp the underling's mouth shut. A thunderous slap rang out. "So you couldn't even handle a girl?" No, that's not it," the underling stammered. "You bastard!" The blonde guy, furious, stomped on him. "You're bringing disgrace to the whole gang. You're reporting such nonsense to me." Another guy hurriedly explained, "Boss, that girl isn't simple. She even brought a whole group from the Luke Mon school along." Hearing the words, Luke Mon, the blonde guy froze. His expression shifted, and a sinister, intrigued smile spread across his lips. "Luke Mon, huh? This is getting interesting." The next day at school, the blonde guy was complaining to Jin Do-in. "It's all your fault. Ever since that day, Ji-hai hasn't bothered to message me back. Don't say a word. Today you're going with me to the arena." While the 2 friends were bickering, Gisu sat nearby, completely oblivious. He was engrossed in messaging Jiangmi. Every message, every cute icon she sent made his heart race. How could someone be so cute, walking past Kang In-ha's classroom? Gisu accidentally witnessed an unbelievable scene. Park Yong-ho, the guy who once dominated everyone, was now kneeling and begging Kang In-ha. "You've pushed us way too far." Kang In-ha looks down coldly. "Get lost. That's the only way you can help us." Despite Park Yong-ho's desperate pleas, all he gets is a mouthful of spit, which Kang In-ha contemptuously lets fall onto his head. "There's no place here for a coward. If it were me, I'd have just died already." Gisu stands there, stunned. He can't fathom how Kang In-ha can be this ruthless. "Come on, don't get involved with him." Zinduin steps forward and puts a hand on Gisu's shoulder. Gisu wonders why Park Yong-ho is so fixated on him. They're just school bullies, he thinks. It's safe in here, but out in the real world, it's a completely different story. Zinduin says, lowering his voice. There's a company in this district called Gang Yun. It's a loan shark firm. But in reality, it's a notorious criminal organization. Their scale is massive, they can even bribe the police. And Kang In-ha, he's the second son of the Gangyun gang boss, Kang In-ha. Gisu is surprised. The blonde boy smiles. That's right, his family background is no joke. The thugs in this area line up just to be his henchmen. I see, Gisu mutters. This place is getting scarier by the second. At the same time, in a deserted street, night has fallen. Jiangmi is scrolling through her phone while walking, grumbling, I worked late today, I need to get home fast, or my big brother will worry. Suddenly, a message pops up on her screen. After reading it, she instinctively smiles. Suddenly, the sound of rapid footsteps and a panicked voice rings out from behind her. Help me, miss, please. A strange girl with a terrified look rushes over and hugs Jiangmi tight. There are some strangers chasing me, she stammers, trembling. Jiangmi quickly tries to reassure her. All right. Stay calm, I'll call the police. No, the girl quickly stops her. If we go out to the main road, they'll catch us. Let's go into that alleyway. Before Jiang Mi can even think, a gang of thugs appears blocking the entrance to the alley. The leader runs a hand through his greasy hair and gives a sick grin. "Hiding, are we nice? And you brought another pretty one along." "You bastards!" Jiang Mi shouts angrily. "Stop right there or I'm calling the police." The man sneers. "Oh, really? Are you sure you want to do that?" While Jiang Mi is confronting them, the strange girl from behind silently pulls out a stun gun. Zap. She stabs it straight into Jiang Mi's back. A powerful electric current courses through her body. Paralyzed and helpless, Jiang Mi collapses. "What a fool!" The girl laughs scornfully. "Just like that you were fooled. You pretty girls are all just as stupid as each other." Jiang Mi grits her teeth. Her anger overrides the pain. Even though she tries to struggle, her body has no strength left. "Why, you're in on it with them." At this moment, the true mastermind appears. He steps out of the shadows, hands in his pockets, wearing a cunning smile. "So nice to meet you. I heard you're a good fighter. Why don't you come out and play with me?" It's the boss of the White Mountain Gang. Luckily, Gisu has arrived just in time. Seeing Gisu and Jiang Mi getting into a defensive stance, the gang leader looks intrigued. "I didn't want to make a scene, but it seems things have turned out this way. Do you really think things would be different without that stun gun?" No sooner said than done. A shadow lunges straight at his face. Bam! It's Gisu's fist. He doesn't waste words, using his actions to prove the power of a sixth gate student. Right after that comes another punch, even more powerful. "Get ready, Gisu," he growls. "I'll show you the consequences of crossing the line." He attacks frantically, turning the boss's face into a punching bag. At the same time, that woman smirks, looking at Jiang Mi. "Good stamina, but you'd be better off just staying down. Getting up won't do you any good. I'll take you down even with my bare hands." She gets into a fighting stance, but Jiang Mi isn't afraid. On the contrary, she looks excited. She cracks her knuckles and holds her head high. "Staying down might be comfortable, but I hate injustice. Just stay right there. You filthy bitch, I'll make you submit." The woman roars and lunges toward Jiang Mi. Back to Gisu. After a flurry of blows, the White Mountain Gang boss has fallen backward. Gisu stands over him, cracking his knuckles, his voice full of contempt. "Turns out you're nothing special, you bottom feeder." But then, the unthinkable happens. "I've been waiting for this." The boss stands back up, his voice changing. "Warm-up's over. The game really starts now." He covers his mouth, quickly pops something into it, and swallows. Immediately, he lunges at Gisu with terrifying speed. Powerful punches are thrown in rapid succession. Gisu is panicked. What? How is he still moving? Such insane endurance. While he's still stunned, a punch buries itself straight into Gisu's stomach. The sharp stabbing pain makes him double over. The boss laughs triumphantly. "I'm done testing you. Now you won't be able to touch me anymore, you bastard." With that, he puts all his force into his knee, landing a brutal strike straight into Gisu's face. Gisu lies sprawled out. His body is exhausted, every muscle fiber screaming in pain. This kind of power is not something to be trifled with. What kind of monster is this guy? The White Mountain boss Jiho doesn't give Gisu a second to breathe. He charges in like a wild beast. Punches rain down like a storm. "What's the matter? Did getting hit wake you up?" he growls. "Where did all that arrogance of a sixth gate punk go?" But he made a mistake. He didn't know that for Gisu, pain is fuel. The spark of will that seemed to have faded in him suddenly flares up violently. The image of Jiho's mocking smile has awakened the monster inside. "No, I won't fall here." Gisu tenses up, putting all his strength into his legs, stomping hard on the ground and springing up. Jiho is a bit surprised. He's facing a wall, a guy known as the King of Toughness, and that wall is fighting back. Gisu reaches behind, grabs Jiho, and tries to take him down, but Jiho's strength is overwhelming. They struggle, neither willing to yield. As their strength runs dry, Gisu decides to use his final move. He roars and headbutts Jiho straight in the face. Thud. Both of them stagger. Blood streams from Jiho's nose and Gisu's forehead throbs, but now they are on equal footing. They charge at each other, trading wild punches without guarding, only attacking. Jiho has never met an opponent so desperate. Finally, Gisu finds an opening. He throws an uppercut from below, nailing Jiho's chin. He's stunned. Gisu doesn't miss the chance. He screams, his voice filled with pride and resentment. This is the technique of a 6th gate student. You're curious, right? Look closely. The fist of a 10th grade student. He throws one final punch, putting all his effort and all his will into it, a punch with the power of 9,999. Jiho went flying backward, crashing down and losing consciousness. Gisu let out a sigh of relief and stumbled forward. You shouldn't have challenged someone's core foundation, he muttered suddenly, remembering that Jiho seemed to have eaten something before lunging at him. But something else was even more important. Jang Mi. He spun around in a panic and froze. Jang Mi had finished her fight long ago. She was standing there looking absolutely majestic. She had one foot planted on that woman's face, clapping her hands in applause. A beautiful victory. Done early, huh? But it looks like you were more than enough to handle them all on your own. Gisu scratched his head, looking embarrassed. Looking at her now, she looked exactly like Senior Jang. At that moment, Jang Mi's rage finally boiled over. She grabbed the woman's hair and hissed, "Why the hell did you play dirty like that? I don't know," she stammered. "I didn't want to get involved with the White Mountain Society. I was just doing it for the money." White Mountain Society. Gisu suddenly remembered the guy who had harassed Jang Mi at the karaoke bar. What is the White Mountain Society? Why would they pay you to attack her? You don't know. The woman gasped in shock. The White Mountain Society is an alliance of high schools that suddenly appeared in Dongnam about 6 months ago. Their scale is way bigger than a typical gang. All the heavy hitters are gathered there. Their growth rate is terrifying. An alliance of high schools. Gisu, you don't get why we're caught up in this. Do you? The target Jiho mentioned was the students of Lukmon. She recounted her conversation with Jiho. He said if he created a few Lukmon toys, he could join the 5 dragons. They aren't targeting Lukmon, are they? Jang Mi and Gisu were stunned. Why most schools in Dongnam have already been swallowed up by the White Mountain Society. The only area left is the north, where Lukmon is holding ground. Gisu recalled Jiho's words, "I'm curious about the skills of those Lukmon brats." So this was all just a test. "I told you everything, let me go," she begged. But Jang Mi wasn't someone who let things slide easily. She gripped the woman's shirt tightly. Her smile was both beautiful and terrifying. "The debt for that stun gun, it's time to pay up." A piercing scream rang out, ending the battle. After that incident, Gisu and Jang Mi walked home together. Their relationship, built on battles and secrets, had become a step closer. On the way, Gisu turned to Jang Mi, his voice filled with regret. "I'm sorry. You got dragged into this just because of my school." Jang Mi just smiled lightly. "It's fine. It's not your fault. Besides, I have an inseparable connection to Lukmon anyway." Gisu suddenly remembered. He pointed at her and beamed like a child. "That's right, Senior Jang." Jang Mi playfully cut him off. "Perhaps destiny wanted us to get tangled up together." "I'm so happy you think that way." Gisu smiled, confidence shining in his eyes. No matter how aggressive the White Mountain Society is, they're no match. For Lukmon, under Brother Jang's leadership. The guys today weren't actually all that scary. "That's right, because my brother is very special," Jang Mi agreed. Then she looked at Gisu, her eyes sparkling. "But you looked pretty cool back there too." Gisu blushed and scratched his head. "Thanks, I owe you another one now." He thought to himself, watching her radiant smile, "I'm really happy I was able to protect you, Jang Mi." In another dark corner of the city, Jiho, the leader of the White Mountain Society group who had just failed, was kneeling on the ground, trembling and begging a stranger who was currently grabbing one of his underlings by the collar. The stranger's voice was cold as ice. I didn't mean to mess it up, brother, Ji-ho pleaded. Ji-ho, the stranger growled, your problem is that you don't know who you are, and you're always doing useless things. He stomped his foot directly onto Ji-ho's face, grinding it into the dirt. The plan to conquer the north of Dongnam is almost complete. Whether you care or not, it makes no difference. From today on, Ji-ho, you're demoted to a player. His face was shrouded in shadows, revealing only an absolute and terrifying power. He was Tyran .5 of the White Mountain Society. The other players are going to be so happy. Tyran smirked a smile devoid of any warmth. See you at the Roman Colosseum. In another alley, a group of young punks was being taught a lesson by a giant guy. What were you thinking daring to run away from home? Want to join Heavenly Wind? A young kid gathered his courage and replied, We heard there'd be food and a place to sleep here. Bam! A thunderous punch sent the kid flying into an iron fence. The rest turned pale. Food and a place to sleep. The giant roared. Do you think Heavenly Wind is a charity ward, you idiots? He was Gongjin Seop, the leader of the Heavenly Wind gang. Seeing his rage, the kids scrambled away in terror. So you're just gonna run and leave your friends behind, huh? A bunch of cowards. Gongjin Seop sighed in disappointment. He sat down on a chair and muttered, The new recruits lately are so boring. None of them are worth a damn. The henchman next to him lit his cigarette. It's probably because of the influence of the White Mountain Society. All the good guys got snatched up by them. I can't let Heavenly Wind stay a small-time gang forever. Gongjin Seop took a long drag of the cigarette. Just then, a voice called out from the end of the alley. Short on men, are we? Everyone jumped and turned around. It was Park Yong-ho. He stepped out from the shadows with his hands in his pockets, wearing a face of feigned smugness. Why has Heavenly Wind become so pathetic? All of Heavenly Wind's underlings were enraged. You crazy bastard! Do you know where you are? How dare you crawl back here? Park Yong-ho just scoffed and pointed at the kids who had just run away. How about you give me a spot? Compared to those brats, I'm the real deal. Gongjin Seop stepped forward and stared straight at Park Yong-ho, his eyes emotionless. Yong-ho, you were fired. How dare you come back? Do you have no shame left? I might let you come back. But what do you have to offer? Park Yong-ho took a deep breath, swallowing the last of his pride. He looked at Gongjin Seop, his voice hoarse and filled with desperation. But what do you have to offer? Park Yong-ho took a deep breath, swallowing his last shred of pride. He looked at Gongjin Seop, his voice hoarse and filled with despair. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. Anything at all. Park Yong-ho's words made the smile on Gongjin Seop's lips turn sinister. He nodded. Cheonpong had officially opened its arms, welcoming the stray dog back. The next day, Jisoo felt his body falling apart. He intended to stop by the infirmary to get some painkillers, but just as he stepped out of class, he stumbled upon a familiar scene. Park Yong-ho was being cornered by Kang In-ha's lackeys. A guy with a mullet threw an arm around Park Yong-ho's shoulder, his tone sounding condescending. Hey, life's been tough for you lately, huh? Everyone has their moments of anger. In-ha's just a bit strict, but we'll give you a chance. Just let us put in a good word and he'll take you back. Yeah, right. They were clearly trying to humiliate Park Yong-ho, forcing him to beg. But what they didn't expect was that today's Park Yong-ho was different. He frowned and shoved the guy's hand away. Stop talking nonsense. Get to the point. The guy with the mullet was slightly stunned, but quickly regained his arrogant look. Still the same, huh? Heard back when you were at Cheonpong, you were pretty close with those runaway girls, right? Must have been a good fit for us. We were thinking of asking you to introduce a few... Park Yong-ho shoved him, hard eyes blazing. I've got no intention of being your errand boy. Get lost. He turned his back to walk away. The mullet guy was furious, thinking of messing around with you for a bit for fun. You dare look down on me. He grabbed a Coke can from the trash and threw it straight at Park Yong-ho. You little bastard. In an unimaginable moment, Park Yong-ho spun around and unleashed a roundhouse kick. The coke can flew past the two guys' faces like a bullet embedding itself straight into the wall. "Don't even dream of it," Park Yong-ho roared. "I only hung out with you guys because of Gangyun. You think I'd let you bully me after I've dropped out?" "What dropped out?" The two guys gasped in surprise. "Does In-ha know you're serious?" Park Yong-ho, without a hint of shame, raised his middle finger and flashed a look of contempt. "Why waste time studying at this school? You guys stay here and keep licking In-ha's boots." Standing from afar, Gisu heard every word. The news that Park Yong-ho had dropped out shocked him. That afternoon, Park Yong-ho carried a box of belongings as he left the school. He tried to wipe Kang In-ha and Gangyun from his mind. Now his only goal was a fresh start with Cheon-pong. "Hey, Park Yong-ho!" A familiar voice rang out. Jisoo had been quietly following him. "I've got something to ask. Heard you really dropped out." Jisoo thought the reason was the loss at the arena, so he hurriedly suggested, "How about we go back there and get a rematch?" That was a mistake. Park Yong-ho's face immediately darkened. He threw the box to the ground and lunged, grabbing Gisu by the collar. "You son of a bitch!" he roared, eyes bloodshot. "You enjoying this? You think saying that makes it okay?" Gisu panicked. He felt like he had just provoked a beast being cornered. "When you're out, remember to watch your back, you piece of trash." Park Yong-ho tightened his grip. "It's not just about that damn arena anymore. I'll kill you right here outside." He vented all his anger, then shoved Gisu away, turning to leave while still muttering curses. Park Yong-ho's strange behavior left Gisu thinking, "This has nothing to do with me, but why can't I stop thinking about it?" Meanwhile, a letter accidentally fell out of Park Yong-ho's box, landing right in front of Gisu's shoes. He curiously reached down to pick it up. That evening, at an abandoned gas station, a group of people sat around a burning oil drum lamenting, "Ha, lost it all again, huh? It's all because of those Cheon-pong punks. They don't respect anyone and even demand protection money. Those dogs, sooner or later I'll settle the score. They're many, but they're all pathetic." Just then, a shadow walked out from the darkness. In his hand was a steel pipe. It was Park Yong-ho. The group went silent, staring at him in astonishment. Park Yong-ho spoke, his voice ice cold, echoing through the gas station. "You guys have two choices. 1. Join Cheon-pong. 2. Get out of here. Which one do you choose? Isn't that Park Yong-ho?" A guy in the gang sneered. "Heard you used to be Kang In-ha's dog, and now you've been kicked back to Cheon-pong. You really have no shame." The mockery stung like needles into Park Yong-ho's already shattered pride. He remembered the conversation with Gong Jin-seop, the leader of Cheon-pong, that, "Ma Jong-gon is eyeing my territory. Go deal with him. Do the job and I'll consider letting you back in." With no other choice, Park Yong-ho gritted his teeth. To get back what he'd lost, he had to crush these guys. Two thugs with steel pipes lunged at him. "All talk coming here alone. You tired of living?" Clang. Park Yong-ho raised his pipe to block. The impact made his arm go numb. At the same time, another guy jumped from behind to deliver a finishing blow, but Park Yong-ho was one step faster. He spun around using his steel-plated shin guard to catch the kick cleanly. "What now?" Park Yong-ho scoffed with a wild grin. "It's bulletproof, you dog." Without a word, he unleashed a spinning kick that sent both guys flying. Ma Jong-gon and the rest of the lackeys roared in anger. Park Yong-ho didn't flinch. He raised his pipe in challenge. "Come get some." The battle erupted. Park Yong-ho fought a pack of wolves all by himself. He lunged in his pipe, dancing with deadly arcs. "I have to win at all costs," he screamed in silence. Inside the Cheon-pong base, Gong Jin-seop stared at an old photo, a picture of him and Park Yong-ho back when they were like brothers. A lackey asked, "Are you really planning to take Park Yong-ho back?" Gong Jin-seop gave a cold, chilling laugh. "Take him back." "No way." He pulled out a lighter, the flame flaring up and licking the photo. Dogs like Park Yong-ho are for using up and throwing away. The image of the two youths standing shoulder to shoulder in the photo gradually turned to ash, just like the loyalty that Park Yong-ho was risking his life to prove. Back at the gas station, the battle had reached its end. Park Yong-ho stood amidst the bodies lying scattered about. Gasping for air and covered in wounds, Ma Jong-gon, the leader, was the only one left. He backed away, trembling. "You, what are you?" "A monster," he stammered. "You weren't this strong last time." Park Yong-ho wiped a streak of blood from his face. His smile now looked truly sinister. "The me from back then is gone. Don't compare me to the past. I gave you two choices earlier. Right now there's only one left." He stepped forward and slammed his boot down onto Ma Jong-gon's face. Park Yong-ho's eyes burned with a terrifying madness. Ma Jong-gon had been eliminated at Lu Men High. Two students were carrying a box of old supplies. That damn Park Yong-ho, even after dropping out, he's still causing trouble. "Hey, did you hear he's back at Tianfeng?"